Maintaining your beard isn't just style, it's self-respect. A well-grown beard boosts confidence and leaves a lasting impression. Elevate your look. Embrace the importance of beard care today. Embrace the importance of beard care today.
All right. What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?
Embrace
you hosting today?
Today.
Yes, I am going to be.
Right.
Correct. We are going to introduce our panel here. Our all-stars are ready. Are all our all-stars ready tonight?
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Lapeef Network. We are ready to go. We got your homeboy Sweeney. We got Marcus White in the building. We got Darwin McPherson,
aka Bruiser.
There you go.
Oh, BKA.
We got Shannon Rose. It might be BKA because most of us just call you Bruiser, brother. And we also have Viz the Poet, man. We are here. We're ready to have us a good show tonight. We're going to get busy. We're going to have a nice little discussion. We're going to try to keep it clean. We're going to try to keep it friendly. No promises. First and foremost, we are going to acknowledge our sponsor, Tej Handley. Uncomplicated care for men. If you want that skincare that's fire, go ahead and get it. You do not want that gator skin. You want your face to be nice and smooth, clean. Do not forget to hit that link in the description. Get your first box 40% off and a free gift. Go ahead and grab that. We are not going to have you gentlemen out here looking harsh. Y'all better get y'all stuff together. You need that smooth skin. And we are not going to forget Assured Man. JR and Sugar Curls done Voltron and came up with some magic for that beard. If you want that husky beard, like some of us on this panel, you want that Viking beard, you know, the first thing that the ladies going to ask is, do they connect? If it ain't connected, man, you ain't out here winning, man. You out here losing. So go ahead and get you that Assured Man so you can look like some of us on the panel out here, man, with these husky beards looking sexy, man. Let's get it. How y'all gentlemen feeling today for King Talk? Welcome to King Talk. Welcome to King Talk, man.
I just want to tell Shantae, you know I don't check Instagram like that. So I just checked it. Because she's talking about, I know you saw my message. I just saw this message and looked at the other one.
What's going on, Mr. White? What you got going on over there, Mr. White? Oh, there you go. Makes perfect sense. What up, y'all? All right. How y'all feeling today, man? Don't be all dead. It's about to be one of them nights. It's about to be one of them nights, man. We might have a couple more cats coming through. Man. Huh?
Get the goddamn show going.
Oh, we trying to.
He trying to get in his groove. Sweeney, don't be a hater, man. Let him go ahead and get his 1, 2.
Stop hating, man.
Hey, I'm a Class A certified hater.
Bro had to tell him quit walking around with that wiry beard. Go ahead, get it up.
What up, Kenny?
No.
What up, Kenny?
So how y'all doing though, man? Kenny, what up, man? This is your joints, man. Shout out to Kenny, man. What's up with you, Kenny? Perfect. How you feeling, man?
Excellent.
Good news. All right. So this is what we're gonna do out here, man. We're gonna start it off with a question. There will not be any videos ran today, right? That's just what we're doing today. Not because I don't know how to, but we're just gonna try something a little bit different. We're gonna get this discussion rolling nicely though, because I know y'all gonna hold it down. All right. So brace yourselves, gentlemen, because this is about to be a winner. And I do want to preface this by saying we're going to try to be solution based. I know this topic is going to get us excited, and you know, we might feel like just going out there and letting it go, but we're going to try to keep it solutions based. Just keep that in mind. before we ask these questions. That's what we want to do. We want to keep it solution based. All right, so here we go. Have you ever personally witnessed or experienced the stereotype of black women being seen as undateable? If so, how did it manifest? Did everybody catch that, or y'all want me to give it up again?
Can you define the qualities that you listed as undateable? Or is it
I didn't
undateable
list the
for me
damn
or
thing, but if
undateable for
I'll give you
anyone?
some examples that I know of personally, undateable. So undateable would mean that just like you can't even tolerate being around this person, right? Because we're talking about the stereotypes, right? So if you are extremely familiar with the red pill space, I hear you gripe about it all the time. So all those things that you hear these men saying that makes women undateable, that's what we talk about. So we want to know from you personally if you think that there's some validity to it. Have you witnessed it yourself? And if so, how did it manifest? So you let me know some of the things. And you're gonna start because you was the first to speak. So we're gonna let you go, man. What you got on the Marcus?
I said this once and I'll say it again. I think all women are dateable for the men that like to date that type of woman. I like a specific type of woman. And a lot of women
Okay.
don't fit into that category. Just like some dudes like women that curse them out because it turn them on and get their juices flowing. For me, that woman may be undateable, but for another type
Okay.
of person, that
So
woman
so
is
so
dateable.
here we so wait, what would make a woman undateable for you?
Like
There we go.
the desire to talk shit to me, the desire to want to argue and fight, like body not being proportionate to how the size that I like, blowing up past that point.
Okay.
Not having a kind, nurturing spirit about them, being overly like infatuated with celebrities or being overly infatuated with like luxury items, refusing to listen and take direction, priding themselves on being extremely independent as opposed to interdependent. If I'm not physically attracted to them, like if I don't like feel good when I look at them, there's a lot of stuff.
So have I know you personally have
Trey,
not ran into. Go ahead. What you got, man?
can I ask Marcus a question? Marcus, do you
You
Mhm.
think
sure, man?
there's many,
You sure can.
do you think there's many men out there that want a woman that doesn't have not a kind, nurturing spirit? She's fat, talks shit to you, materialistic, and can't take direction. You think
Many no, but many no, but there are some. I've heard them say it. I've heard women act crazy, and them dudes be like, "Oh, you turning me on with that shit."
And the reason I ask is because sometimes y'all be asking for context and stuff. Like you got asked, what do you mean undateable? Like I be thinking,
All right,
you know what you mean undateable.
so Shane,
Do you want to specifically pinpoint the 0.2%, not even that, the 0.005% of guys that want a shit talking, fat,
all right,
materialistic, who ain't nurturing, she ain't kind, and she talks shit to him kind of woman? You think he should be discussed?
so all right, I get your point, but my grander point is, if you're asking me specifically, most women I meet I wouldn't date because I'm not attracted to them. Like it's a higher, you know what I'm saying? Like the women in LA that you say are the top 10% of women that come from every place in the country and aggregate in LA, that would be probably the percentage of women that I'm like most of the time
Yeah.
attracted to.
And that's what we're saying.
That don't make
So
a woman
Marcus, in your
bad.
opinion,
That don't make her undateable.
I got a good one for you then, Marcus. And with that, right? Would you now say that most men, because I think this is where Shannon was going, do you think most men feel like you? Because you just said that most women, you danced around it, I feel a little bit, but the conclusion
I'm
is
answering the question.
most most women, no, because all right, well, you didn't dance, but you were being nice about it. Because when you
I
began,
literally said most women.
bro, hold on, I'm gonna tell you why. Because when you began, you said that most women are dateable, right? But then you said, you concluded with, I wouldn't date most women. That's where the disconnect was, because we were asking from a personal experience, right? Just your own experience. And you said most women are dateable. Even though I understand the way you said it, it didn't give that thought like that's where you were going with it, right? It almost seemed like you didn't want to say it which I understand why you wouldn't want to say it, because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and stuff.
No,
But it sounded like you were defending it.
Nope, don't put no words in my mouth. I've said this time and time again. Certain women will conform and mold to whoever that man is. So for that man, she will become dateable. Every woman ain't dateable for every man. Some men are dateable across a wide range of women, and some women are dateable across a wide range of men. And some people have a very niche audience. That's what I mean. I think I probably fall into the niche. Like I like beautiful women, so I fall into a specific category. And if my options were different, I would change what dateable would be to me. I'm only basing it off the opportunities that I have been presented in my life. If I have been presented different opportunities, then I would have a different metric for what's dateable or not. That's what I'm
saying. Cool. We got you, Marcus. We got you, Marcus.
Real quick,
Kenny got that face on. Kenny, hold up, Kenny, I got you, because you got that face right now that it looks like I'm not going to let you get away with that. Is that what you thinking, Kenny, right now?
A specific question was asked to you. You changed the whole dynamic of the question to fit your ego.
Oh,
that's exactly what just happened. He asked you a simple question. Do you know at least one hood rat that you'd be like, hell no, I would never even be seen with her. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. That would not be nothing that I would even look at twice, because I know what comes with that. That would be the proverbial inner chakra. Your chakras would be like, no.
So Kenny, my cousin told me this. He told me I like pretty women. He like bitches he can hit in the face that could fight. There are different types of men out here. Is what I'm saying. I was sitting there looking at him like, wow. I swear to God, he told me this.
Okay, but
watch what you said. Is off your crazy ass cousin.
Yeah, but watch what you said. That's what you're.
His crazy
ass.
I
respect that. I respect that, Marcus. But we asked you to keep it on a person that you would not entertain,
and I said
you gave the dynamic of the things that you would like and the things that you attract, rather than answering the question at hand.
I think that's the only way I can answer it. If you're asking me specifically what it is that I like, I have to preface it with, just because I don't like something about certain women don't mean they're undateable. I'm saying for me, this is my metric, and if there are other people who have different metrics, so I can't say they're undateable. Undateable would mean across the board, not just for me.
Well, we're talking about for you.
The thing is,
I've already answered that.
The quick thing is, you said, if you ask me what I like, we didn't ask you. The question wasn't posed as for what you like.
I asked for clarity, and he provided it, and I answered the exact question he asked me.
So am I off, Trev? Didn't you ask him?
I don't think so. But check this out. I want to know your version of that same question. That I want your answer. How do you feel about that? Have you have any experience with this? I reckon you do, but I just want to hear from you.
You reckon I do? Man, I've been around females that I've observed that for a second I even entertained the thought, and then you know how you have the angel and the devil on each shoulder, and the angel came and knocked me upside my head with a 2-pound hammer and said, what was you looking at? You know what trouble come with that? Stay far away from that. If she even comes with a casual conversation, run far and fast. I've been around a lot of those in urban settings that, intuition came out to play, and then you seen it play out on somebody else that didn't know how to read the area of the room or the woman. And it went horribly bad. Yeah. I've seen a dude who was doing time for said woman putting him into a altercation that he didn't need to get into.
Oh, wow. This is true. Hey, so Viz, look like you got something on your mind. What you got for us?
Oh man, I think I'm gonna agree with Marcus with a lot of what Marcus said. To be 100, another part too.
What?
I'm honestly not a big fan of women that don't wear their natural hair like consistently. If I never see you with your natural hair and you wearing it, that's kind of a turn off for me. Right off GP. And I had shared a story too where I dealt with a female that was she was into having makeup sex. So she would literally pick
Oh wow,
fights.
that's wild.
She'll literally pick fights, start shit just for that. And it was like early on, I peeped it and cut that off immediately, So that those two things for me personally, I'm personally not a fan of.
Gotcha. So Viz, check this out. With the first part of it, right? It's a little sensitive to me. I personally despised weaves as a younger man. I hated them like with a passion. I'm like, why are you doing that? Stop it, right? But I'll tell you what, after talking to many ladies and finding out what was really going on, I heard a couple of things. Some things I couldn't bang with. Like they would say, oh, well, it's a lot quicker and easier for me to just throw something on. I ain't got time to do my hair every single day,
That's a
blah,
cop
blah,
out.
blah. That
Yeah,
I
that's
took
a
as
cop
lazy. And
out.
I'm like, no,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to hear that. You can stop that. That's a
yeah.
no. Shut up. No. That's it.
Finish her.
Now, there's another side to that. There's a lot of women who have different deficiencies, whether they're missing some minerals,
No,
whether it
that's
be,
different. That's different.
yeah,
That's
there's
a
some
that's
people
a
who are suffering
whole
from
different
alopecia and stuff like that. And it's a little more rampant than we know. And some people they didn't know any better and they put perms and different things in their hair, all these products that come in the beauty supply store in their hair, and they pretty much stunted their growth, ruined it, and it's extremely difficult to come back from that. Right now, we have more YouTube videos and different things that'll show you how to develop it. But yeah, with that case, so I definitely understand that
No,
part.
no, I agree with you, but I've seen plenty of videos of where women they would remove their wigs and you can literally their scalp is pushed back all the way back here, and they
Damn.
still applying glue to it, So if you're doing something like that, man, you've been doing this for a long time, and to me personally, that shows a sign of you not being comfortable with yourself truly. So me, I have locks, so hair to me is a big deal, and how it is that
Gotcha.
you carry and present yourself that matters a lot as well. Because right now we see it a lot that a lot of people aren't comfortable within their own skin. So I personally couldn't date someone seriously that feels that way.
So to finish that one part off, before I get to, I'm jumping to you next, Winnie. The one thing that I wanted to ask about that is, would you date someone who's wearing natural hair but it's very short, like Amber Rose short, or maybe a little more?
I'm with it. I mean, if it fits you, if you wear it well, you know what I'm saying, you wear it with confidence, hell yeah, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's roll.
Okay. Y'all hear that, ladies? Are y'all listening up? Are y'all listening up? You saying he rock with the baldy, man. So
hey, the
as long as it's yours.
wild ass eyelashes too. Like if I pull up on
Or the
you,
Betty Boop eyelashes.
hey, if I pull up on you in the car and you in the car and your shit look like this, your silhouette,
you're fired.
No, that's an instant wrap.
Hey Viz, real quick, let me ask you a question. You a Rastafarian?
I've looked into the religion, but no, I don't practice it solely.
So you still eat pig feet?
No, wow. I actually, to keep it a buck, I quit eating pork maybe like 9 years ago, and I just recently started back eating bacon. I missed the fuck out of it. I ain't gonna lie.
Bacon be good.
Yo, I love me some swine, bro. I ain't playing. I love me some swine, bro.
You know why I asked that? Not to knock you. You know why I asked that? Because if you have standards that you look at certain females and females are like, well, you got locks and you even know the real Rastafarian. You talking about my eyelashes and you eat pig feet.
Well, no,
you can't give up the bacon. So the dynamic is like, how you gonna knock me if you got on a headdress that doesn't represent the right thing?
Well, so before I locked my hair, I looked into Rastafarianism. I looked into all of the cultures that wore locks, and what was the reasoning behind it. So I understand the entire analogy of I and job bless and all of that. You know what I'm saying? I looked into the storyline, the culture, the standings, you know what I'm saying, of all of that before I locked my hair, simply so that I knew what it was that I was getting myself into. A lot of the things I do agree with in that religion, but with my expansion and and journey in finding spiritualism, I take a little bit of everything from everything else. So you know what I'm saying, it's one of them type of deals.
But you see the parallel that I'm trying to paint right here. That you spoke passionately for about 2 minutes about seeking the journey, understanding what Rastafarianism is, Haile Selassie, Ethiopia, the whole Shashamani thing, and then you say, "But I can't give up the bacon." You understand?
No, I gave up the bacon. I gave up the bacon. I just said I gave up. I quit eating bacon in
You still
2015.
you said recently you took back up eating bacon. That's the last thing you said.
I just started back eating bacon maybe a month or two ago.
Okay, so there's a standard. Like if she wants to break it down to the basics, okay, she would have asked you the same thing I'm asking you while you're knocking her about her headdress, her hair kufi and them long Tinkerbell eyelashes. She was like, well, you ain't living correct either. You see where she can go at you with?
I mean, that's subjective. I don't go out and knock women that wear wigs or weaves or eyelashes or whatever the case may be. Hey, do your thing, queen. You know what I'm saying? You beautiful. Woo woo. But all I'm saying is you just, for me, it's not you're not qualified.
I'm gonna pull back real quick, but you said not too long ago that's something you don't like. That's something you don't like. That's something that doesn't do for a woman. So that means you'd be lying to her.
What you mean?
Because you said queen and you look beautiful. You just said that about 30 seconds ago. So that means you
I mean, she could still be beautiful with it. All I'm saying is just not my personal thing. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about what's your personal thing that that you would go for and what it is that you won't go for. Me personally, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't pursue and of course I'm not even in the position to do that, but I personally wouldn't pursue a woman that presented herself in that manner. And there's nothing against it. There's some beautiful women that do present themselves in that manner, but me personally, I just wouldn't pursue it.
Fair.
Did they start telling about y'all houses yet? They already got the fireworks going over here for Juneteenth. Is they?
It was going off last week in my neighborhood. I don't know what's going on. They was doing it.
Yeah, I ain't heard nothing. I'm out in Texas, so
they probably might do something.
Yeah. So Sweeney, what you got on the matter?
Well, first and foremost, I don't really have problems with weaving wigs. It's a specific type of weave that I have a problem with. Like that what do the ladies call it? The 30-inch bust down or whatever that is, where they have it like with the baby hairs and shit. Like that's probably the worst.
You don't like baby hairs?
Not with like the same look that like you see across the board. Like you see Nicki Minaj done had it, Cardi B rocks it, Sexy Red rocks it, Suki Hana done rocked it. Like it's that damn style that they got out today that I just don't like it. Like it looks ridiculous to me. But outside of that, like the curly wigs and stuff like that, or like when they do like I don't.
So let me ask you this: do you think that makes a woman undateable? Is that like your main gripe from having a woman undateable? Would it be the baby hairs?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that. I was just commenting on us having a conversation about the wigs. No, I don't think that renders a woman undateable. However, I will say this: that hairstyle does come with a specific archetype of woman. Typically, it is the undateable women that have that loud, aggressive, hoish Want to twerk in the middle of the flow,
twerking on the head.
Just it like normally the people that I see with those type of weaves in their head is normally it's borderline stripper wear. Like you see most of the strippers rocking that same hairstyle. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that a woman that has that hairstyle makes her undateable. I'm just gonna simply say it tends to be the undateable ones that have that hairstyle.
Bernice Burgos. Bernice Burgos, go.
Yeah, I don't think that the problem is necessarily one that somebody, a female that wears it, and I'm not sure if everybody else can agree. But again, if it's that's all that you wear, and we never ever see you wearing your natural hair, but you have hair underneath the wig, then it's kind of like, man, come on, bro.
No, I could dig it. So,
Bruce, you wouldn't date Bernice Burgos?
You wouldn't?
Damn, I didn't even get to answer the question.
My bad. I thought you was done. You stopped.
I was just talking.
Keep it going, sweetie. Listen, keep it going, bro. Keep it going.
Hold on, let me. But no, though. As far as black women being undateable, that's what we kind of referencing, right? The myth about.
Yeah.
All right. I will
stereotype.
I can say I'm Marcus adjacent on this. I don't have Marcus's mindset behind it, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I have a more rose-colored glasses outlook on the dynamics as far as dating. I think most people are just regular ass people just trying to get by. And I think if they get their shit together, they can kind of, you know what I mean, and figure it out. They can kind of come together and work this shit out. However, I seriously don't understand the disconnect between average ass people and other average ass people. I don't understand the disconnect. So I think that they are making themselves undateable in that market because of that disconnect, whatever it may be. But I do believe, go ahead.
A lot of people that sit down in your chair, man, I know they got gripes. I know the conversation comes up sometimes. What is it? What are the typical arguments that you hear? What are the gripes that you hear from these men that sit down? Because you like a therapist sometimes, right? Like they get in your chair sometimes like a therapist. They sit there and they talk to you, and I'm sure they've given you a bunch of gripes. And you probably cut some younger people's hair. And dating's tough. I've talked to a lot of young men, 20s, 30s, and dating is hellish right now. And people don't meet in person nearly as much right now.
I would say,
hold on, wait, Trev. But what type of men are those, though?
What type of men? All types of men. And I'm not saying that no one can find a woman, but what I'm saying is it's a lot tougher right now. People don't meet as much in person, right? And when you start to look at the dating apps, they're bad. They're not designed for you to delete the app, even though that's the advertisement that's their motto, the app that's designed to be deleted, but they're not, because that would be a failing business model. They're designed to keep you searching to date. And that's where a lot of people meet. Most of the people that are, well, I can't say most, but a much larger portion than ever, right, are using dating apps, and they're not designed that well. They cater to women mostly because the men are the ones paying the money to date these women. Right. So it's a failing model for the consumer, but it's a winning model as the business.
So, Trev, if you were single, how long would it take you to find a wife if you wanted one?
Great question.
You know what? All right. So here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. All right. First off, I'm 6'4", right? There's a lot of boxes that women look for that check, right? I don't really talk about myself, but the boxes that women say that they're looking for, I fall into that category. I'm married. If I was not married and I didn't have children, then yes, I would have a lot of, I check the boxes. So it's easy for me to get into the door. And I have the ugly duckling syndrome. So I grew up not looking fly, not tall, not cute. So I had to develop game and charisma. Now I think I look a lot, even if you could say whether I look good or not, it doesn't really matter to me, but I can say I'm objectively better than I was when I was younger. So now I added the game, the charisma, the XP, along with what I've been blessed with in the future, and it's extremely easy for me to attract women now,
I'm
right?
saying, but
So
Trev,
it's
Trev,
different.
you just admitted one part where you said you had the ugly duckling syndrome. You weren't as
Yep.
tall, but through those processes, you had to develop G. You had to know how to run your mouthpiece in order to get across what it was that
Absolutely.
you want to get across. That to me is one of the biggest issues of most men and young men today, is that they have no G whatsoever. They have no
Okay.
attempt to
Well,
even attempt to try it, because now you have access to social media. You now have access to the dating apps, where it makes that interaction, that initial interaction, easier with a woman, much rather than, and I would assume that we all can agree as men that the best way to meet women is to take your ass outside and meet them
I
in person.
believe so. But if
But
the women ain't going outside, and I got two things with that. I don't think the women are going outside as much.
Women are
And then
definitely going
secondly,
outside, bro.
and secondly, everybody on this panel has a mouthpiece, which is why we could sit here and as individuals entertain people for hours in most cases. That is a gift, a blessing, or whatever you want to call it, that not everyone has. It's something that you can develop as a talent, but it's not something that people are born with. It's something that you have to be developed. And a lot of us had positive male figures in our lives, right? That's not afforded to everyone. So some people are lacking the bare essentials to be able to develop those skills, and they don't have people around them. I had people around me that was older G's that'll pull my coat and be like, hey young, and blah blah blah, this and that. And not
But
everybody
again,
has that same opportunity.
but again, can we all agree as men that one must seek knowledge? If it's something that you
True.
want, you have to go out
Mhm.
and seek it.
well,
So
Yeah,
fair,
but you know
but
what? And here, that's another part. And you know what they do? They are seeking it. They're going on YouTube, and then they're finding these guys that are very
listening to
convincing.
clowns.
Yes, but how do they know they're clowns if they don't have the experience? So you see where I'm going with it? They're trying. They're making the effort, and some of us are valid, right? I think I'm valid
Yeah.
when I tell people to go out and be realistic. But there's some people who are more sensationalized. There are some people who have more of a following, and they are entertainers. So they're able to get a lot of these younger men to come out with certain ideologies that are ineffective and will actually be detrimental to what you're trying to do. So
Yeah.
that's the problem. I think they are seeking knowledge,
and then
and
also
the modern way of seeking knowledge is now social media.
and then also
And
Right.
go ahead, Sweeney. Go ahead.
and then I want to answer your question as well, Trev. Then also,
Good.
I don't think that was a necessity for the vast majority of people at a period of time. You didn't have to be the best game spitter on the planet to pull. Now, if you wanted to pull all the chicks, you might have had to do that. But like that wasn't a requirement across the board where everybody requires you to have the greatest mouthpiece on the planet. Now, again, I've been out the dating market for a long time. And again, when I was in college, it didn't require most of that shit. You know what I mean? You had to be all right, but you know what I mean? I don't think that was required at a period of time. And now with social media, there's a huge boom and unrealistic expectations, and then we're telling people to have to live up to those. But but to Viz's point, if that's the solution to your problem, then that's the solution to your problem. If you saying I can't get women and I can only get women if I got a mouthpiece, then you might want to go get a mouthpiece. So I see what Viz is saying. Now to answer your question, Trev, you got to understand, I work side by side with my wife. So I also hear women. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's not sounding good for the fellas when them ladies are talking. These women have some stories for your ass. Like as far as their own dating experience, they have some, like these are just regular women that sit in my wife's chair and we all in there and I hear them talk. And they dating experiences kind of, you know what I mean? They have just as many bad dating experiences as I hear the men have. So if I was to look at it, I'd be like, well, damn, most of y'all out there dating ain't really hitting all the marks. Because then again, on the flip side, because I do go back and forth with these women as well, because I explain to them how the men feel when they sit in my chair. So, and to your point, like, yes, the men got their gripes. They, you know what I mean? These women are sometimes overly aggressive, or they got attitudes, or they have unrealistic expectations and things like that. And then on the other side, you hear the fuck boy stories and the bad dating experiences from the women.
I mean, but that's the inevitable though on both sides. Both sides is always gonna have whatever trauma or horror stories
Absolutely.
that, that they're gonna have in that experience.
Right.
Especially if they speaking about it. You know what I'm saying? This is something for me to hold on to and trauma bond with this other woman saying, and shitting on how bad other men are, or if it's guys, how bad or aggressive or whatever the case women are. It's always going to be somebody complaining.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the complaints are still, that doesn't make them any less valid. If you're going out there and that's your experience in the world, and this is what the world is feeding to you, then it doesn't make it any less valid. It's happening.
That's
whether
fair.
we
Got it.
Yeah.
So check it out. Darwin, unbelievably has been extremely patient tonight. I want to get him up in here, man. Pause. And then Shan, I know you waiting to pick everybody's argument apart, so I'm gonna let you go last.
All right. So first, I'll say the hair issue has never been an issue for me. For a woman being undateable, I think it's very childish to have a deal breaker for hair, especially given the substantial amount of history that has plagued women, especially Black women, of upholding the European standards and them having to adapt, and it kind of being ingrained in their physical features, as a go-to whenever they are trying to beautify themselves. So I would give them grace on that, just like they would probably give Black men grace when they took away vocational schools and factories and incorporated the whatever the Lyndon B. Johnson Act, whatever, where they, men were pushed out of the house and stuff. And it kind of made it hard for men to be providers, Black men to provide providers. And now you got the results. You got an average man, you got masculine women, you got modern women as a result. So I think that those women are giving these men grace and still dating them and still marrying them, still giving them children and still trying to make it work. So I think that the response to that is to consider, also the historic trauma or the historic obstacles that they had to go through to try to uphold some European beauty standards in America, especially to even work. I know it's changed, but you got to understand that some of these things it's going to take some time to get over. So the hair thing, if you run it parallel with the same issues men had, then you could try to kind of cancel that out. But
But Darwin, I kind of got to challenge you on that one, because with that being said, and even with some of the videos that you make, the narratives that you push, and I'm sure that we all, again, as men on here, can agree with that. Yeah, it may be more difficult for us as Black men to go out and provide fully. But it's still one of those things where that's still not, it's an excuse, but it's not an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Like we still can't validate men to use that as an excuse to not be the best version of themselves. Right.
And I completely 100% agree with you. I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think you should allow men to use it as an excuse. But I'm simply acknowledging that there are a plethora of women who are giving men grace for not being providers. I know I think somebody posted a video on how Black men were at the bottom. He had all the stats, and men are at the bottom earners. These men, there's some men out there that's still able to find themselves in families, still able to find a wife and become partners. And I think that's the grace that these Black women are having for the Black man. And I think in return, simply acknowledging the beauty standards also is another thing that kind of hindered Black women or people as far as the beauty standards, keeping them from being them accepting their natural states. If I'm not mistaken, I think in some cases back in the days, having naughty hair or a woman hair wearing dreads or a natural look was frowned upon. It was taboo, and I would think some of these Black women wouldn't even be able to get employment if they didn't have a straight hair or a straightener in their hair. So for that, I would give Black women grace on that. I think if they're able to wear it and be beautiful and it appeals to you, yeah, that's another layer that, you know, that's the layer of, for your perspective, your own specific, the individual preference. It comes to that. But for a mass, for my general consensus on that is to just have grace on them, just grace for the women who have to, you know, beautify themselves in a European way, just like they would have grace for us for not being able to show up economically. You know what I'm saying? So to answer the question on the undateable Black woman, I don't think it's a myth. Most definitely don't think it's a myth. You know, I think to specific men who meet a specific criteria and wants a specific outcome might find some Black women undateable. I got 3 examples. The first one, if you're a man who is a partner, you'll struggle finding a Black woman who will fully submit to you and fully cooperate with you when she has to pay half of the bills. The second example is if you're a provider, typically around the age of 35, 40 years old, who is looking for a woman who is hypergamous. You'll run into many Black women, according to statistics, that struggle with maintaining their weight, and also Black women who are 35 to 40 who would typically have a child and may be unimpressionable, which makes her undateable. And the last example is you'll run into women who are hypergamous. They're actually justified to be hypergamous. And they look at man traditionally and have a goal to operate in their femininity. You'll find that this plethora of women are undateable because you cannot afford to provide for them and the children you create. Your socioeconomic status might not be at the level where you can provide for this woman. So she would be undateable. Now, I think in a lot of spaces, they call these women, they say these women have unrealistic expectations. So I don't think it's a myth. I think once you get yourself to a certain level, a certain category, you'll find that certain women become undateable and some women become dateable.
You just made a justification for Ebony K. Williams. It just baffles me how you dance around this carousel, sir. You made some good points there, Darwin. But this flip flopping on this bridge about there's a couple points you made, like back in the day, Black women used to embrace their Blackness, their natural hair, dashikis, those times, right on, power. So the dynamic got changed when I can't really put the date per se. I would say 80s, when they felt they needed to emulate European standards and start straightening their hair, and then workplaces demanded it. You ain't gonna come up here with no big old afro and you could press your hair down, get and look more presentable and so on and so forth. And outside of the workplace, it started becoming a pariah just to look Black, and women conform to it. They conform to white standards. So that had nothing to do with the men that were with them. They chose that. Just like the women today, I said what I said and I'll do as I please. That led a trend coming up to where we're at right now. As for the provision and protection thing, you have good points regarding that here and there, but the majority of women that wish to roll up their sleeves with you, I think they far outweigh those that have the high standards. It's just the vicinity and locale that most men are looking. I just wanted to touch on a little piece of that. I digress.
Shane, what you got?
Mic check 1 2. Can you guys hear me? I didn't do a check. Okay, cool.
Yes,
I don't know, man. It's a couple things. Let me think. I swing around the screen. Sweeney be listening to the women at the shop, at the barber shop, because he works with his wife. His wife does hair and Sweeney cuts hair. I used to own a barber shop myself, a hair salon. It's called Christian's. And I listen to a lot of women too. And in my experience, Sweeney, I think a lot of women associate trauma to their lives that they never experienced themselves. And they do it to fit in. So a lot of times when you hear a lot of women giving stories on their dating experience and all that, because I've had sisters and cousins and heard them stories from them, and I know they ass didn't do the shit that they was talking about. I know it got a lot of sorority sisters.
That is possible.
Don't do that shit.
That was a
saying
lie.
Shit in that chair. They be sitting up in that chair saying that they went to this and did this, and this nigga was like this, and they ain't even go nowhere that night. They be lying.
Damn.
That was a lie.
I just want to put that out there.
Hey, look, I don't deny. Hey, look, some of that shit might not be true because I've also said the same thing that a lot of women who get online and tell stories, and you ask the question 3 layers deep, and they, like you said, you ain't experienced none of that. It was your cousin that went through it, and then you told the story as if it was your own. So yeah, you may be right in a lot of that.
Yeah.
Hey, I even into Shannon's point, I've been in the barbershop salon where it's a men and woman space, and a woman that's in there singing like this song about how niggas ain't shit and all this other stuff, but she's engaged, she's married, she's a co-owner of the shop with the man, and the man is in the shop with her while she's singing the song, you know what I'm saying, with her client. So it's like one of those things of where it's like that's not even the lifestyle that you live in, but you singing this song, you know what I'm saying? So how much
Cardi B got caught like that? You're right.
It's like
I don't cook, I don't clean,
how
and
much
you caught her in the
damage
kitchen.
are you doing by you feeding into something that you're not even experiencing? But this woman that you're essentially doing her hair, you know what I'm saying, in which I don't know if you can agree, but when you're in somebody's hair, that's a very intimate moment. You're dealing with those vibrations and all the other shit. If you're going spiritually into it, you're now inserting this and validating this trash that you're hearing on the radio, and you're singing it, and you, oh yeah, girl, and you're not even living that, but she not living it, but you singing it with her because she's living it. So it's that shit dangerous, man.
I will like to add this too, is that I can also be honest and say that sometimes when I do hear these women tell these stories, now they come in multiple times. So you hear stories and then you hear a different person and then they start to talk about who they are as a person. Because again, the ones that's honest, eventually they get, you let a woman talk long enough, she's gonna start snitching on herself.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be looking at them like, man, you expect to keep a man and you act like that? So it's a mixed bag. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's why I said I kind of got rolled, because it's a mixed bag. I get a lot of shit in the shop. You hear some niggas come up in there, you be like, bro, you don't deserve no woman. And some dudes come up in there, you be like, damn, man, I can't believe you going through this type of shit. Then some motherfuckers, like, niggas be capping on their dick. Like, you did not do none of that shit last night. Why you lying?
So Shannon, I wanted to present the question in the same way we did with Marcus here. So you personally, have you witnessed this yourself, or just a certain scenario you'll run into them and be like, damn, nah, not that one. There's a hell no for me. And if so, what made you feel like that? Because we are trying to be solution based. So the first thing we're doing is we're going to identify these problems, and then we're going to go around again, and we're going to take everyone's problem and figure out what they could do to kind of improve it.
Let me end with that, because I did want to touch on something that Darwin was talking about, and I think that Kenny was getting ready to lay it on him, but then he kind of digressed.
Pause.
Listen, man. For me, you get no grace for excessive, vainglorious reasons, Darwin. Grace for not being able to, for a man not being able to make a living and systemically keeping black men from certain areas in the workforce does not equate to platinum blonde wigs, bro, and BBLs and cumbrellas and them raptor claws.
Hey, and
what's a cumbrella?
Oh,
that's the umbrella.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, that's the you pull up on the side of the car.
And in my personal opinion, women should give grace to men. I hear what you now. I do agree with you saying women give men grace, but they should, because part of the reason that men have had trouble historically is because they replaced the men with big daddy government. And they weaponized the court against men in many ways. And that's the reason why we have shows like this in the space that we have right now. And men are actually speaking up for the shit and the injustices and the things that we dealt with for the last 30, 40 years. Give me some grace. We need some grace for all the shit that we've gone through, for all the stepfathers that stood up and took care of shit and then still had no autonomy over that child, and all the things that we've gone through and still out there dealing with what we're dealing with. And we're saying we're going to match that to you wearing 18-inch fake hair.
Hey, Sam,
that's not really a good match for me.
Hey, Sam, what was the name of that old flick with James Earl Jones where the movie was basically about the girl he was interested in with kids.
Claudine.
Come out of the house.
Claudine.
Oh yeah.
What year did
that was
come
crazy.
out in?
Yeah.
That was in the 70s, right?
Yeah, it was in the 70s. She couldn't have the little social worker was coming to the crib, pressing her to see if she had a man up in there, checking the closet. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
So I just wanted to, and I hear what my man Darwin is saying. I just when he says, it's a give and take. Those to me, that's apples and onions.
But did you honestly think that when I was referring to the challenges Black women went through in history regarding European beauty standards, did you honestly think that I was saying giving them grace on blonde wigs and lashes?
Well, that's what we complain. But that's what we complain about, Darwin. See. Okay. So what men complain about when we talk about these BBLs, when we talk about these lace fronts, we're talking about the excessive stuff. We're not talking about corrective hairstyles. We're not talking about those women who occasionally want to switch it up and try something different. Maybe 1 month she's curly with her natural, and the next month she wants to go a little straight, but she adds some extent. We're talking about the excessive blue-haired, platinum blonde, crazy, wild shit that we see throughout the internet. And that has nothing to do with giving them grace because of some European beauty standard that they're trying to match up with. That's just being extra. And we're like,
so I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I wasn't at all referring to those women who were going to the extreme with the ridiculously long eyelashes and purple, red, yellow hair and all that shit.
I was
just talking about I'm just talking about the wigs, the weaves.
The brothers actually described those before you spoke. So that's why, I thought that's what you were speaking to.
No, I was just giving my preference on a woman. I know it's I don't know if anybody said it on this panel, but I know there's been conversations, floating around about women need to be more natural. And I want to date a woman unless she's natural. So I think I was addressing that. It may not have been nobody specific on this panel, because I think the guys, like you said, on this conversation, we're talking about the extreme shit, not necessarily, just putting a wig on that kind of match your hair texture or straight or whatever, or just wearing weave or whatever, or extensions or lace fronts or whatever. That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
everything else was flawless, right?
Anybody that goes to the extreme, anybody that takes something to the extreme, I'm sure again we can all agree that it has to be something going on internally. You know what I'm saying? If you have to do this thing to the extreme, balance is everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so true that.
And it's interesting because Kenny challenged you with the Rastafarian thing, and I wanted to let Kenny know. See, for me, the biggest part, makeup and body adornments should be used to accentuate a woman's natural beauty, not rewrite the shit completely. So, my issue with wigs and swirls and lace fronts and all that extra stuff is not so much cultural appropriation, Kenny. It's more about self-esteem. And that self-esteem thing is the part that will kill a marriage. If that's what that's the death by 1,000 cuts. And when you got somebody who doesn't like themselves to the point where they want to rewrite, remodel, recreate themselves, when they wipe all that shit off, they take everything off and they look completely different, or they're starkly different than who they were when they had it all on. That's the issue I think that most men are having. Not necessarily saying, well, you're trying to be like a white girl. I think you're just trying to be something that you're trying to be somebody completely different than who you actually are. And that's my issue that I have with the weaves and the extra and all this other kind of stuff. And I think that for by and large, that's what most men have an issue with.
I will make an exception on this as far as the issues, and I'm glad you brought that up. To just give it more context and give it more a better understanding with the wigs and the lace front and the lashes and all that stuff. I would say women who approach beauty from the top down angle, what they do is they focus on the hair, lashes, makeup, and all that shit. I would prefer women to focus on a bottom up approach, focus on their body, and then, you know, if they need to enhance their beauty with the makeup, all that makes sense. It's a lot of women that are, how do you call it? I forgot the terminology for it. I'm not even gonna go there because I can't think of it. But it's
morbidly obese.
Huh?
Is what that was you?
It's like you wrap. I think this. I don't know if it is. It's like you gift wrapping shit or some shit like that. It's pretty on the outside, but underneath it's ugly. So just focus on your fitness, your health, and I would argue that for all men, and y'all can challenge me or correct me, but I'm willing to go out on the record and say all of us would prefer Black women would be in their healthy state, physically fit, you know, over having wigs, lashes, makeup, and all that. I would rather deal with a woman who was physically toned and had the curves and was, and you know what I'm saying, was beautiful as far as her physical aesthetics, versus having beautiful hair, beautiful lashes, beautiful makeup and lipstick and all that, those other things.
Yeah. Bruiser, you're talking about hygiene. You're talking about hygiene, right? That's what you're talking about.
Well,
you say you prefer her to have better hygiene than, huh?
That's more so their lifestyle. But
hygiene.
But I was gonna say to that point, with what Kenny said about Rastafarianism, right? The women doing that where they wear all of this stuff every single day, right? This is a part of them. That and as you guys said, that's following that European standard. Rastafarianism was stepping out and going against that. You know what I'm saying? It was going against the whole concept of this is how you expect me to look, but this is what I am. You know what I'm saying? Type of deal. So that made me, after Shannon and Darwin acknowledge it, it made me think about that part as well again. But yeah, I think that it's a completely different scenario and situation.
Gotcha.
So I know you want to wrap this up, Trip. So let me ask you a question. So you were asking about undateable women, and, you know, and I mean that's the title of the show. You know, the myth, dismantling the myth of undateable Black women. You know, the biggest part that makes a woman undateable for me, because everybody's different, as Marcus has explained, is the woman who does not prioritize me. That's what makes a woman undateable for me. You know, the fundamental basics of a woman's purpose not being her main goal in my relationship with her would make me say, oh no, I'm cool. And oftentimes you could determine that quickly, but you know, when you're young, and I fell victim to this, you know, you get blinded by that fat ass and sex, and then, you know,
it's easy for that to happen.
Yeah, if I would have paid
we fall for it every time, man.
The first time around, I'd have saved myself a lot of time, you know, but, you know, unfortunately, I didn't discover these things until later in my manhood. And so that's one of the reasons why we have King Talk. It's one of the reasons why I like to talk to young men, and I'm attempting to get them to pay attention to these things, older men as well, because if you got a woman who's out there, because to be honest with you, man, there's a lot of relationships out there, marriages, that they're competing against each other. Like the husband and wife is competing against each other. Who got, you know, who worked the longest, or who made the most money, or who got the biggest paycheck, or who bought this. Or you got people it's not really a situation where somebody is leading and the other is following. And I think that there's a natural order in relationships. And so I need a woman who's going to prioritize me, man. You know, and like I explain to people all the time, like I tell men, how do you pick a good woman? Did your life get easier as a result of her presence? That's it. Not it's your life, not the kids, not hers, not everybody else's. Did your life increase as a result of her being in it? And if it didn't, you need to get rid of her. And so today, when you just all you got to do is let a lot of women talk, man. Just listen to her once or twice. You don't even got to go on a date. Just on the first phone calls, you could hear if you're going to be prioritized in that relationship. Now, I know you may want to hit it, but if you can get some dick discipline and get past that sexual side of it, then you will eliminate a whole lot of women in your life that will drive you up the wall later on. So the undateable one
you
for
make
me are the one who fucking who seems to be a little selfish. There's a lot of selfish people out there, and if I determine that a woman is selfish, I'm gone.
You make a great point, Shannon, when you say that you just have to listen sometimes. And the funny thing about it is it's extremely easy for the conversation to go that way. Anybody who I advise at all, I always tell them that you should always do more listening and less talking, because you're just giving out information about yourself that is probably going to work against you. Whereas if you listen, females love to talk anyway. They don't really want to hear from us, really. Like, they don't really like us to say very much, right? I don't know how, like, if y'all been in the dating world for long ago or whatever, but most of these women, they just don't want to hear from us. They just want to talk. And a lot of times they don't even want advice. They just want to vent, and they just want to keep telling you about themselves. So when you listen, they're just going to tell themselves, like you said. So it's so easy to do that. Just let them talk. Try not to talk about yourself, because you're going to learn so much more. And females will feel like you have better conversation when you say less, which is crazy. But yeah. Ken, are you ready? Or you want to wait till we come back around?
Yeah,
All
what?
right, what did you want to add to it, brother? I know you've been waiting patiently.
No, no, all I gotta say is this, right? All I gotta say is this. Like he said, if you allow them to talk too much, they will tell on themselves. It's also the same thing that he said that women ain't funny, but they want to tell the most corniest joke, right? Uh, so that's life. The reason why I'm saying this is so funny, man. You guys are talking about the ones that want to paint their hair. I have more problem with the one that want to bleach their skins. That's where my problem is. The ones that bleach their skins. Like, you got to see a girl in her 20s, she's dark skinned. Then in her 40s, she's white. What is that? I just can't tell, man. Even it cuts across so many levels. From the poor girl in the hood to the celebrity in Hollywood. They all follow the same trend. Dark skin in their 20s and and super light skin in their 40s. I used to think that this was a Nigerian problem, because in Nigeria we have a problem of women bleaching their skin. But this is now universal. It's everywhere. But to me personally, right, I think it's more of a mental health problem. I'm sorry to say this. It's a mental health problem, because when you start becoming insecure about yourself, you got to check into the hospital, man.
So
That's just
uh, so let me ask you this. Would you say that it was probably indoctrination that probably motivated them to do that? Maybe something that they were exposed to, modern day beauty standards, what they witness. I know particularly today, what social media highlights, what the algorithms push. But there's always been that. There's been so many things. I know, at least on this side of the continent, I mean, of the globe, we had light skin, dark skin separated, not by our own doing, but by you know who. And we were told that the light skin was better, and they got the better jobs and everything. So it's so for that, when you witness that, right? There's always been a separation. There's always been a faction for, well, even if we're not going to say always, but for a very long time in history, it's always been that where if the lighter you were, the more privileged you were. or the more
That
beautiful you are perceived.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing
that
nowadays.
that's not that that is not a true that is not true at all, because you got to look at it this way, right? Pam Grier was not light skinned, and she was popular. She was supermodel. What's her name? Campbell, the UK lady, wasn't even light skinned.
No,
She
Pam Grier
was.
was definitely top tier in the 70s. Kenny.
That's what I'm saying. But she wasn't. But she wasn't. She wasn't. Okay, you're talking to Kenny, because I saw him made his point.
Pam Grier was
I'm not.
light skinned. She was caramel. So she was
She
on the
never
scale
bleached.
where
Bro,
I remember the
She
first
never
time I
bleached.
seen her in Coffee.
that's not light
She's
skin, bro.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't dark skinned.
she's caramel. She's not dark skinned. She's
No,
more fair skinned.
no.
That
The reason why I brought Pam Grier is because she never lightened her skin. She kept the skin the way it is. What's her name? Naomi Campbell. The same thing.
Mhm.
Naomi Campbell wasn't even light skinned. She is still dark skinned. All those top models, look at the whole top models, right? They are not big booty women. They are not light skinned women. They are
Well,
women
tell you
that
what.
maintained their color.
Now, when you talk about like the big booties and stuff, right? Those would be our beauty standards versus the European beauty standards, which would be model type shape, the thin, and that's why they were able to, or the bone structure that they like. That's why they were able to be elevated, in my opinion. It wasn't necessarily the tone, the skin shade in those circumstances, but more
But
like the body type. They had
yeah,
more
but
of a European body type. They're all
uh,
very slender. They didn't have the curves that the
it's
black
not.
women have and stuff.
It's not just that, because if you look at people like Pam Grier didn't have flat butt.
Okay.
She had a figure. But what I'm trying to say is that the market respected people that keep their natural look. That's what the market respected. But this is what happened in the 80s, because all these things started mostly in the early 80s. Was those basketball players getting married to the white women? Then the black women said, whoa, let me compete. Because you got to understand, the lightening of skin started in the 80s. And it's because of when the mixed race couple thing started in its prime, that it's at its prime, that's when people began to bleach their skin. And even in the 80s, it happened both ways. And then the person that propelled it was Michael Jackson that propelled it. Because remember, Michael Jackson had a fat nose in the early 80s, and then by the dawn of the 90s, the fat nose became skinny nose, pointing out. That changed the whole thing. So Michael Jackson influenced the beauty standard. That's not beauty, because that was not beauty. It influenced the outlook of a lot of black people, both men and women. But at the
Hey,
same time, the women become far more insecure, because they thought that the men were gravitating towards light-skinned women. No, the men wanted to befriend light-skinned women, but they want to marry dark-skinned women because they still want to have dark-skinned children. So go
were
ahead.
you in the States or in Africa during the 80s
This
and 90s?
this this I was in Africa. This is global. This is not just in
No,
the US, because you guys see the
that
US
wasn't happening in
aspect.
America, bro. That wasn't happening in America.
What
In the
wasn't happening in America?
as far as in the 90s, from what I can remember,
Uh-huh.
black women were wearing waterfalls. They were wearing somewhat close to their natural hair. If anything,
But that was late
caramel.
70s. That wasn't even now. I know. Remember, I said at the dawn
That was,
turn of the 90s, right?
I'm talking about in the 90s in America, for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
I was born in the 80s, so I don't remember much from the
Yeah.
80s. I'm sure Shannon and Kenny P can speak on this, but
Yeah.
um, during that time period, from the images that I've seen and being aware and being able to remember what I saw in the 90s in America or even
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, you know what I'm saying? Black women were still embracing them being black. You know what I'm saying? They were
Mm-hmm.
rocking the weaves, but you know what I'm saying, it wasn't to the extreme of what it is now. They were smelling like cocoa butter and all that, you know what I'm saying, that whole shebang. It wasn't that. I don't think that it was as much of that European standard that was happening truly in the Black community during the 90s.
Well,
Maybe
what happened was what happened. It really. So the 90s was a turnaround time because that's when conscious rap came out. That's when we had Africa Bambaataa. That's KRS-One was big. You know, everybody was rocking, you know, African fucking medallions on their chest in the early 90s. But in the 80s,
Bluefish.
Yeah, in the 80s, prior to that though. And so I think maybe you and Akina kind of like crossing paths because, you know, brothers like me and Kenny remember Jerry curls and
Right.
S curl.
Right.
You know, and so there was, and you know, and then being dark skinned wasn't popular. Trust me, I was born in 72. So
Right.
I'm 12 years old and I'm
so,
liking girls in the early
Lionel
80s,
Richie
and
and
I'm
Smokey
ashy, I'm
Robinson
you
here.
know, African booty scratcher and all those kind of. So you know, but so you know, the light skinned brothers was the ones that they wanted at the time, and that's when everybody was bleaching their hair and conking their hair, and girls was, you know, putting a flat iron on the stove.
Yeah.
But when the 90s came around, where in the era that you speaking of, that's when we had the Black conscious rap, and it was, you know, and Fight the Power and all that kind of stuff came out. And then Spike Lee had dropped his movies, and he, you know, and Do the Right Thing and all those kind of, I mean, they were at the late 80s that those came out, but it hit
Right.
in the communities in the 90s, and that's when it flourished until but what they did was whoever shut down the conscious rap, and then they hit us with gangster rap. And then we went to gangster rap, and then Queen Latifah was pushed out. Fucking you know, MC Lyte pushed out, and then came Foxy Brown and Lil Kim in the late 90s. And then after that, we ain't went back since. After the gold and the wigs and being a slut and just out there doing all that extra, talking all that extra sexual stuff, we never went back. And then Beyonce came along and with Destiny's Child and the rest of them and TLC, and then we haven't gone back there. So it was like we was strong Black people in the 70s, Black exploitation. You know, we got talking about Pam Grier with Foxy Brown and all that kind of stuff way back in the 70s. And then in the 80s, it was this 10-year period that motherfuckers was trying to be white, trying to be bleaching their hair. And we had a thing that was called a finger wave. Women was wearing finger waves, and the pimps was having their hair laid out and throwing lye in their hair. And the niggas had S curls and Jerry curls and all of that. And then we went back in the 90s. And then at the end of the 90s, it went back to this wild ass beauty standard. And it's been like that for the last 20 years.
Man, but Shannon, I don't think I've ever seen a white person with finger waves. I don't think I've ever seen a white person with a Jerry curl.
Tina Marie rocked one, but that was about it.
But you never seen a white person with a Jerry curl?
Rachel Dolezal. There you go.
Who was that? What was that workout guy? Didn't he have a Jerry curl? Simmons guy.
Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons. Yeah.
But they were rocking it because we was wearing it though.
It was a trend. I think the dude that used to paint those pictures of the
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross? No, he didn't have a Jerry curl. He had a fro.
That was a natural afro.
Yeah.
He had black.
I was gonna say he had a fro.
He had an afro. That was real.
It was a natural fro, but once he caught cancer, they put a fake fro on him to keep his image. You know what I'm saying? But again, that was one of those things that we made that popular. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I can say that. I don't know if I can contribute that to white people, because again, I've never seen a white person wear a real life Jerry curl. I've never seen a white person, aside from a Jew, and that got to be a certain type of Jew, that'll rock a fro. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of those styles that was being worn during the 80s, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I remember seeing the images of Smokey Robinson and James Brown with the, you know what I'm saying, with the digs. I get it. Yeah, but I don't know if I can really contribute that to them.
Yeah, and you're right, but you got to also take technology into consideration, because all we really had was pressing curls. So the chemicals that we have today, the wigs and the wig process and the weave process making that we have today, we didn't have in the 80s. Girls didn't have that. So all they had was fucking relaxers cellophanes, relaxers, cellophanes, and pressing curls. And bone rollers. So we didn't really. I almost want to say, reality is you're right. You're absolutely right. But is it because they didn't want to, or is it because they couldn't because there was no options? And with the options that they have today, what did people choose? I guess that's the argument. So it's a matter of if they would have had the option to wear. Right now they got the extra swirls on their forehead and they got hair that it's sticking to their head. You can't tell the difference. They got a split going down. They got the part going down. They didn't have that. That wasn't available. That was not available in 85. So in 85, if that was available, would they have taken it? And that's the question. But go ahead, Trev. You got it, big dog.
So I did want to, at this point, everybody had their own individual gripes, right? So I do want to start with you again, Marcus, because I hear you in a minute. What do you think, because we said we wanted to be solution-based, what do you think that you can do or we can do collectively to alleviate some of those issues as far as the stereotypes? What is it that we can do? If we want to be solution-based, what is it that we can do to help it? How can we begin to fix this problem?
I think you need prayers, you need a rosary, you need that holy water. You need a whole lot, because right now women have their way. Remember when I initially stated, I said what I said? Who gonna step up to a woman and tell her peel off her kufi and them goofy eyebrows and tell her stop, putting that bleach on her skin to lighten her, take off them friggin' those talent hooks that you got on there. Let's line up 10 women and do some homework and see how successful we are.
So I think one thing, Marcus, before you go, I just want everybody to kind of take this into consideration. One thing I always say is that everybody is the protagonist in their own movie, right? The movie that they call life, they are always the protagonist. So a lot of these people don't think, I would say most people, right? I would venture to say most people don't think that they're doing anything the wrong way, right? So they are trying to do what they think is right in their mind. At least they try to. So most people don't go out with any malicious intent like, oh, hell no, I'm about to make all of these dudes mad as hell. I'm going to make sure that I am absolutely undateable. I'm going to wear nails and stuff that I know they hate. I'm going to wear the worst hair possible.
No,
I'm going to deliberately get out of shape. I don't think it's, I mean, that's the valid opinion. But to me, I really don't think so. But I cut you off, Marcus, so I'm gonna let you rock. But I just wanted you to kind of take that into consideration when you answer.
So I think the best strategy is for men to completely ignore the women they don't want. Like treat them the same way you would treat another, like a non-sexual person. Just ignore their ass. When they get to acting crazy, okay, and then just get away from them. Like just walk out on them. Just don't deal with that shit. Like if you ask somebody, like just date the people who fit into the spectrum of whatever it is that you like, as long as you can actually date them. You gotta be realistic with yourself if you can get the types of women you want to date. But if you can, then at that point you can say, hey, I don't have to deal with you acting like this. And if every man walk away from them, they're gonna eventually be like, all right, what is it? Why are people just leaving me? And then at that point, you can actually get somebody to answer when they're searching for it, or they can ask one of their girlfriends that actually has a man, and she can be like, I asked her one time, what would you recommend for women that want to keep a man? She was like, they just gotta listen and implement. It's simple. It's not real hard, but they gotta be in a space where they want to listen. So yeah,
I was gonna say, to Marcus's point, the men are already doing it. These women are complaining left and right that they're being ignored right now. Left and right. They making video upon video upon video upon video of men not talking to them, men not approaching them, men not dealing with them. I know me and Viz had got into it, and I got into it with a few fellas on the show and in the King Talk group about men not approaching and all of that. And I want to kind of walk some of that back. But to those women, Marcus is absolutely right. And I think men are walking in the right direction in that aspect. They are leaving them alone. And what they're doing is they're having some of them, a lot of them are having a come to Jesus moment. Like it's gonna take them acknowledging what's happening. And once they get past shaming the men for walking away from them, eventually they're gonna have they come to Jesus moment and be like, okay, we can sit here and complain all day till we blow in the face about these men not dealing with us. But now we have to really truly ask ourselves, what are we doing to make these men not deal with us? The same way that us as men had to have our come to Jesus moment. In the early 80s and the 90s, when we realized that our women was calling us scrubs and dog shit and we ain't doing shit and bad baby daddies and all of that, we had our come to Jesus moment. And as you started to notice, men started taking accountability. You started to see more active fathers, and you're seeing a whole lot of men changing today and trying to become the men that their fathers weren't. So it's just gonna take.
What grade would you give us as men as far as our comeback, right? After we've heard the complaints and we took action, what grade would you give us?
If to talk specifically about the things within our control, I give us a B minus, B minus. We doing all right. Are we perfect? No, because I would think that perfection comes with generational wealth and all of that, and I don't think we're quite there yet. We ain't there because we know right now black folks are about to lose most. Our wealth is gonna fall to $0 by 2050 something. So we're not in that aspect, but I think that calls for a whole nother. There's a whole lot of other shit that got to go into that. But as far as us getting up and at least getting our asses up and going to work and trying to take care of our kids and take care of the people around us, I'll say we're around a B.
Hey, but Sweeney, real quick, to that point that we did disagree on. The only thing, the biggest part that bothered me was us making that normal. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't for us saying that, okay, this is normal, this is okay, because it's not. Because even if you do come across that female that fits that 30%, and you're so caught up in the habit of not approaching women because you're scared of X, Y, and Z, that was the soft part. You know what I'm saying? That to me, that's what makes you a weaker male, because now you just got so caught up in being content with not approaching women, that a woman that you actually deem that may be a fit for you, you don't even have the balls to even approach them. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that's some weak ass shit.
But you know what though? It also manifesting itself in other areas, not just in dating. But if you noticed, they were talking about how men and the workplace stopped mentoring women alone and all of that stuff, and how that came out of the fear of the Me Too movement and stuff like that. And I do believe that all is given, like all of this transpiring at once. Because like I said, I think the pendulum is swinging back the other way. We saw it swing one way and swinging back the other way. And I think what we're having is a series of overcorrections in society. Something goes wrong, we overcorrect. And then the pendulum has to swing back the other way. And I'm thinking that after a while, women will start to have that come to Jesus moment where they're like, okay, maybe we do have some shit we got to work on. Now, we might not get the whole Hershey bar, but we might get a Hershey kiss out the deal.
I think that pendulum definitely swinging. If you think about, like, we was in what they call a single mother crisis. Now they complaining and trying to stop baby deletions, and in some states trying to prevent birth control. I know that's not specifically us, but that pendulum swung one way and now it's swinging back the other way. I think we're not even replacing each other at the same rate. Like,
no.
Yeah.
So what did y'all say the solution was? I think y'all came up with one, maybe. I don't know. I may have missed it.
It was ignore
the hyenas.
Yeah, so your attention is your currency, and then just pay your currency to people who deserve it, and keep your money, keep your currency in your pocket for people who don't deserve it. That means stop liking pigs just because they're ass fat. That means stop paying all this extra.
I completely agree with that.
Stop subscribing to their OnlyFans.
I'm a C student, so y'all might have to help me with this one. Well, the topic is undateable. Me using my brains, the little brains that I do have, would align solution with the contrary. I mean, not the contrary. The opposite of undateable. How do we make women dateable? Would be a valid solution.
Yeah.
But simply ignoring them and walking away. I don't. And I'm not trying to attack anybody's point of view. I think it was a good
Well,
option for somebody.
but the thing is, to your
Let me-
point, Darwin, the thing is, you can't make women do a damn thing. That's
I didn't say make them do
no,
anything.
no, I know, but that's what I'm saying is that it's going to require them to sit back and understand. The whole reason why ignoring them is a solution is because eventually they have to ask themselves the question: why are these men not wanting me?
Well,
And the thing, and only they can. And then at that point, because the thing is, have men? We've been talking for damn near 3 years now. They know what we want. It's not a secret. We ain't been.
Right.
It's not a secret what we want.
We also got to praise the people who do the thing we want.
Fair.
sure.
Fair.
You have to provide them with positive reinforcement, and then that's attention. The negative reinforcement would be for that behavior, you get no attention, and if that's what you want, and move forward.
Hey,
So
but
the solution has.
Let me throw this out there.
Go ahead.
So Darwin, I hear what you're saying. You're like, well, where's the solution? Like, we're like by the numbers, as we used to say in the military, right? So
By the numbers.
the part that they just missed out on was the old ones. So what's going to have to happen is, and here's the solutions. We're going to have to let the old ones, my age, die out. You got to ignore these old heads, man. They hard. Trust. I went to school with them, brothers. Believe me, they are hard headed. I can't play with them. Can't win with them. Can't coach with them. Can't do it. Because you are not going to be able to psychologize and reprogram some of these women who's operating with unupdatable hardware, man. It's not going to happen. So
Sharon, real quick, what age bracket is that you're describing before you go
the
on?
solution is we need to focus on the youth 35 and younger. You got to focus, laser focus on trying to protect the youth from the old wives club, the old golden girls, the misery love company harem of women that's trying to recruit the young ones into their fold by shielding them. And the best way to do that, as an example, is to incentivize the young women by showing them the benefits of getting in line with a man. We have to emphasize that, baby, listen, your auntie was an independent boss. You see how that worked out for her? It's not prosperous long term. So do not be a slut, and if you were a slut, stop. Tell the brutal truth and be an unselfish helpmate to the man that you naturally love. Help your man with cooking, help him with cleaning, sex on demand. And then men got shit to do too. I mean, I hear we talking about women, but men, I'm with Sweeney. We, by and large, we still doing what we've always been doing, right? But men got to be amazing men. You got to be physically strong, physically, like your arms. You can't be fat and sloppy and squishy. You have to figure out a way to become a moneymaker. And gentlemen, you have to be a problem solver. One of the things that women are complaining about today is that a lot of guys don't know shit and can't do shit. And so she got to figure out everything. He can't fill out a goddamn job application. It's just almost like he don't know anything. Don't be that guy. And if you aren't that guy, but you know something that's like that, help that brother out. You know what I'm saying? But once you become that guy, it'll be real easy to ignore them old ones. And the younger ones, 35 and younger, will listen to you. And then you could show her why it's a benefit for her to be with you. And then she'll tell her friends. And the next thing you know, you got grassroots marketing. And all these young girls will start to say, I ain't listening to my auntie. I want to be like her. I already know what she's like because I saw her at the cookout at the family reunion last week. I saw her at Thanksgiving. And I don't want to be like that. So I think that's one solution right there.
Gotcha. Darwin, I don't think you had an opportunity to finish your answer because I don't remember you saying a solution.
No, I actually think it was just a question. I just didn't understand how it could be a solution by just ignoring them. I get ignoring a specific age group, but that means if you just use a specific age group, don't some of those women that are cooperative or maybe impressionable, let's just may get hit with a stray round. You get what I'm saying? Or is that the collateral about it? Or like we just said, fuck it, they just in the way.
Collateral damage.
But I'm just
No, you got to treat all the women as individuals, so you'll be able to suss that out. We talking about behaviors and looks that you don't
okay.
like.
So if you say individually, then we can't really say okay, women from 35 after 35.
Yeah, that wasn't. I didn't say that. I'm saying treat them as.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I think, me personally, if we was to actually come up with a valid solution that was applicable, we would have to look at the issues and figure out how they were originated, and try to see if we can go back. Okay, how did this become so fucked up? How do we reverse the problem? I get it. We can't make women do something, but I do believe we can reverse the issue if we understand what caused it. So, for example, what came first, the average man or the modern woman? The masculine woman.
Chicken or the egg?
What came first? Was that
The modern woman?
I would argue the average man came first. I would argue that the modern woman was a product of men being average, and a woman having these men are no longer providers. I think there was an era where they were these men are no longer providers. I have to go and work now.
Give me a time frame on that. Give me a time frame on that. What does that mean, Bruce? Give me the time frame where you think the average man was created.
I would say the average man was created around. I would say, when did I would say the 60s, 70s, maybe.
So you're talking about
Vietnam.
Right. So, all right. So here's the thing.
I don't know what year.
No. I get what you're saying.
The factories and all this other stuff, and
World War II.
It would have to be. I can only assume it would have to be during the era of when Claudine came out. You know what I'm saying? Because if they put it in the movies during that time period, it had to be pretty relevant for, you know what I'm saying, for it to connect. So whatever time period that was, I think that's when everything began to usher in the tide began to shift.
I do remember the type of family that was like the Fences, the movie. I think it was Denzel Washington and forgot what the black.
You talking about the father that goes out, works, and you have a woman that,
I don't know what year they were trying to replicate, but whatever time.
But that was an original stage play that was written in maybe the 80s or something like that. Because James Earl Jones, he did the original one when it came out, and he was, you know, somewhat younger. So I can only assume it was during like the 80s when that came.
But Darwin, whatever era it was, Darwin is suggesting that the problem started with shiftless men, and women had no choice but to become the strong, independent women that they are today. I don't believe that.
That's simply not true.
So would y'all say that it was like World War II when women were kind of forced to work?
I just don't believe it at all.
Well, no, because we're looking at this like World War II was an aspect of need. Men had to go to war, so therefore women had to stay at home. It was all a part of the war effort. But the house,
but then it kind of stuck because all right. So if you look at the vid situation, right? People started working remotely, and then companies was like, "Damn, look at our bottom line." And then it just was by accident became a reality, and a lot of people still, you know, work remotely, which is why you have a mass exodus in California, and everybody's running to Florida, and now it's the most expensive state. So it's one of them things where it could be that this is just a theory I want you to think about, because that I don't know for sure. I wasn't there, but just from a lot of the things that I've looked at in history, it kind of looks like that could have been a contributing factor right after the silent generation, because a lot of people will recognize that during the baby booming is when baby boomers were the most selfish, or at least started this selfishness, right? And that's where a lot of people believe the problem originated.
But what I'm trying to get is that because the housewife, especially the 1950s version of the housewife, was a relatively new and very short-lived thing. That wasn't a thing that, like, You talking about like with the Industrial Revolution brought in a housewife because men were able to go outside the house and work, and they didn't have to work on their farms and produce their own stuff to make money, which the whole entire family was
I'm
up
not
there.
talking about.
I know.
I'm
I'm
not talking
wait.
about working on farms.
I
I'm talking
know,
about
but
women having to go and get a W-2.
Right, but that's what I'm explaining to you. So there was a period of time where
I think that we got to keep in mind too that they were fighting for that though. Like that was a desire that they wanted. You know what I'm saying? So
most
that
of them didn't. Most of them didn't. Most women were not fighting for it.
I will tell you.
It was a small minority.
I will tell you a lot of
They
black
wasn't
women
fighting for
wasn't.
what, Sweeney?
Like the suffragettes. There was like most women didn't want it. Like
oh, you go back there. Okay,
yeah.
I'm thinking y'all talking about something else. Okay, I'm in a different era. Go
like
ahead.
And those who fought for it. If we want to keep it on topic, it was mainly white women having an issue with their husbands in the house.
White women started feminism.
We wasn't treating our women like these white.
Yeah, but our black women also worked with us the entire time. There wasn't a period in time in history where less than 30% of black women ever worked in this country. Like they've always been a part of that. It was just cooperative. There was a cooperative effort between both families. I mean, between the men and the women at that time. But there was never a period in time, and like hell, they worked side by side with us on the damn plantation. Then we became sharecroppers, and they worked side by side with us doing that shit. And then they worked side by side with us in the workforce. And like it's never been a time, especially our women, have been that 1950s housewife. Hell, have y'all watched the Wonder Years? The black version of the Wonder Years?
Yeah, Kevin Savage. Oh, the black version? No, I saw the Kevin Savage version.
The black version of the Wonder Years, the mama went to work and the daddy went to work. He was a professor at a school and she had a government job. Like and she was still, and they was cooperative with one another. It wasn't no, you know what I mean? She still treated him like the man of the house and he still treated her like the woman of the house. So the problem is really attitude and in-house, because there was never a period in time where us as black folks weren't cooperative with one another until recently.
Well, I will say this: I did see something else, and when we talk about the origination of the issue, what caused women to want to go and have their own lifestyle, I did see somebody post something about the disparity between now and back in the 60s, where a house was $40,000 and the average income was $22,000, and then now the houses are $400,000 and the average income is like $40,000 or $50,000. So I did see that. I'm not gonna say it had anything to do with men and women working. That could be inflation. It makes sense to point at inflation, but do we just not adapt when inflation happens?
You can't adapt to this level of inflation, bro.
I've seen it done.
This is unnatural.
I'm living in the flesh of a person who adapted to it. So for you to say you can't adapt to it is one thing. But if you say most people can't adapt to it, then that's another. There's
a difference between adapting to normal inflation and then we're talking about COVID inflation. Like that's two different types of inflation. You're talking about a period, like over a period of time, in less than 3 years. Matter of fact, this lady just did an experiment, right? She had a shopping list that she shopped at Walmart back in 2022. I think it was either 2021 or 2022, right? And it cost her $300 for all these groceries. She went back and put all the same shit she bought at that time in a shopping cart, same way, and it was almost $800. That is unnatural. That is not normal inflation.
Yeah, I've never witnessed it this bad, and people are they're pretty much like, I guess you could call it price gouging. That's what they're doing right now. There's been companies who were caught suppressing supply on purpose just so they can have a better bottom line and get more per unit. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what people are doing. And they were doing it with evil things like baby formula. How would you do that with baby formula? But that's what we're looking at right now. The economy is it's like this now, but a lot of it is by design, or not even by design per se, but people knew it was happening and didn't give a damn about contributing to it negatively. So that's a big problem. And I know we do understand that people have to work, but do we think that women were doing the same type of work, the level of work and require the level of tenacity that they need right now to work? Or do you think it was more so elective, or they could do kind of a feminine job and not have to do exactly what we're doing? This is just a question. I'm not posing a position here.
I would argue that women back in those times, I don't think they were forced to work as much as they would now in order to live, in order to survive. I think now women having to work is a matter of them living and having to survive versus back then, when they were cohabitating with a man who was able to work and actually able to maintain some income to take care of the family. This was before inflation. And I would also argue that specifically Black women, looking at the stats as appearing to handle being able to get educated and being able to secure jobs so they can survive is starting to increase. I'm not going to argue that it's better. I know there's this stats that say women are buying more houses, and all this other stuff, are getting more jobs, all this more educated or whatever. To what expense are they doing it at? But I'm not going to argue that. But I will say that they're catching on. You know what I'm saying? And it's just making it more, the term undateable, more of something to talk about, because if you can't, meet her hypergamous standards, then it's in the wind. You know what I mean? So like, what do? Do you just say, fuck it, I'm gonna go to be a passport and go overseas? And then now you got this, this issue. Oh, I go overseas. The Dominicans and the Thailands, they love us. They love the Black man. But then you got to understand that America is the international Mecca. You got all right. You got Dominicans, Thailands here. So why they don't feel the same about you on soil than they do off soil? It's not even the woman. So that argument is debunked. It's not the women. It's the demographics. You going over there in a third world country, yeah, they're gonna look at you a little different. But you got Dominicans over here. Why are they not going up? Instead of going to getting a passport and fly, why are they not going up the street or to whatever portion of New York where they have Dominicans or Puerto Ricans or whatever place in Los Angeles where they have Chinatown or Thailand people? Why are you not going there? You know what I'm saying? Isn't it cheaper? Isn't it like a bus ride or a plane, whatever? I just don't understand that part. So this thing about ignoring them and running away, like, is that really a solution? Is that even working? Is that effective?
Well, we haven't seen it.
Man, I honestly think that may be one of the better solutions that we may have. It's one of those deals of where there will be casualties. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much that you can do with somebody that doesn't want to be better or be a team. You know what I'm saying? So the only other thing that you can do is allow for that person to be whoever it is that they are. And I would even go to the extent of saying, and this may clash with everybody else, but I'll even go to the extent of, it doesn't even matter when this started. You know what I'm saying? It's us paying attention and being aware of what's going on now, and how do we come to the fastest or most effective solution to change the trajectory and the momentum that we're seeing.
Well, the
Hey, Kenny, you want to jump in?
argument weigh the same if you would weigh, if you would reverse it? Would the argument have the same weight?
Absolutely.
Like, okay, are Black men, would Black women be able to sit up here and argue the fact that Black men, it's a myth that Black men are undateable or something like that?
Yes.
No, I think that it's the same. I think it goes both ways. I think that there are Black men and Black women that are undateable. I also believe that there has always been Black men and Black women that are undateable. I think that even though we are in this space and we want every man and every woman to be the best version of themselves, but the reality of it is everybody won't be the best version of themselves. And the people that aren't the best version of themselves are 9 out of 10 going to be and procreate with other people that are not the best version of themselves. So the only thing that we can do And the only thing that we have seen pretty much every successful culture do is focus on the ones that do and are able to make those better decisions and become better people. And we focus on them and build our culture around those people.
And I will
Got
add
it. Sit tight
this.
for a second. Sit tight for a second, fellas. I just want to go over the super chats. And White, if you don't mind reading it, I'm gonna pull them up for you.
All right. Dale Matthews, shout out. Remember for 24 long months. Pew, 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 pew. Like, share, and subscribe.
Here we go. Oh, don't
Network,
worry, I
greatest
got
on the
you.
planet. Salute,
Appreciate you. All right, so next super
All right.
chat.
BZ, formerly Baby Zadi. Zadi. Member for 26 months. Peace to the chat. Salute to the kings.
All right.
Hold on. Frederico El Padrino.
Frederico El Padrino. Cheryl Swoophead ate that the fuck up. Cheryl Swoophead ate the fuck up.
Now that's just wrong.
I don't even know who Cheryl Swoop is.
What?
Basketball
I
player.
don't know what that is, but we appreciate the super chat.
Then they just won a championship in college.
Wait, you
No,
said you live in Texas, Sweeney?
Bro, I live in Texas.
We got one more super chat. We got one more super chat.
BZ, formerly Baby Zaddy, with the 2. Word of the day, cumbrella. Thank you, Shannon,
Yes, sir.
Dictionary term.
Shout to everybody who has contributed to the platform. We would love your continued support. Shout to all of y'all for stepping up and doing what it do. We appreciate and love you for it. Don't forget to like and share this video with as many people as you possibly can. I'm sure that most people you interact with will find value in the message. Kenny, you up?
I'm up.
You ain't want to let Sweeney finish his point?
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what I thought.
He can. All right.
Yeah, it's only gonna take a couple. It was only gonna take a.
We didn't even go, man, but I'll let him go.
Oh, here we go. But no, I'd like to add to Viz's point that when I asked them the question. I've asked women this question on other shows. Was like, what percentage of women and men would you consider marriageable? And it was hovering between 30% and 45%. And I would say that realistically speaking, if everybody was able to be honest, they would have said 30%. And I think that's a failure as a group. You can't get nowhere with only 30% of your population doing right. So
no,
I think where we have to get to is about 60% of people to be marriageable and dateable. And that's the critical mass we need. Beyond that, if we keep hovering around 30%, you ain't gonna to answer Darwin's question, you ain't getting nowhere.
How do we identify that? Okay, so all the women that are undateable, let's just say we came up with a consensus on that. What is the thing that is? What do they have in common? I think attacking that might give us somewhere to start. Like, out of all the women who are undateable, what do they all have in common? All the black women that are considered undateable.
I think on both. I think on both sides for men and women is that people don't want to be a team player. They don't want to play their role. You know, gender roles, it's been demonized now. You know, when it's an actual thing that is a necessity in healthy cultures. And also the only way that we have seen cultures like that where they replenish themselves essentially by getting rid of the 70% was by exiling them, and be that by, you know, deleting them or ignoring them. You know what I'm saying?
You said delete. You said deleting them.
I mean, but that's being 100. If we go back and look at the traditional cultures throughout history, that was the way that it was handled. You know what I'm saying? But of course, we can't do that now, of course. But the only thing that we can do, again, is encourage the people that are for it and essentially demonize the people that aren't.
Yeah, I say his point. Like, so I remember hearing a story about the villages where there were no jails, and the number one thing they could do was put somebody out of the community, like just remove them from being able to fully function in the capacity that we need. Because at the end of the day, most people need community, especially us. We're more communal, tribal people, and we form little small tribes from wherever we are. You get excommunicated. That's the reason why people don't normally steal from their friends or do their friends wrong, because when word spreads, it becomes hard to exist in that community, or you get pushed out. But I think to answer Darwin's question, I think the two things that's probably most common throughout them, though, the men and women, would be unrealistic expectations and an unreal assessment of who they actually are.
Yes, I agree.
So that's kind of
all right, now
really blanket. Like, okay, can you unravel that a little? Okay, unrealistic expectations for.
So, all right, if you're a man and normally women don't find you that attractive, and you're struggling getting average women to date you, when you get an average woman feeling as though you qualify for a more attractive and not taking her serious because she doesn't fit your preference type, when you've never realistically been able to get your preference type. And the same with a woman, if she has a preference and she just never can get those men outside of one night stands or a consistent 3 a.m. booty call, you have to reevaluate, am I as valuable as I think I am? Because maybe on the market, what I'm selling is not selling for what I'm trying to sell it for.
So basically saying when a man and a woman settle, they can't really know the potential of who they can get. And that's causing the issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't think most of us are undateable because we're literally undateable people. Like, I think it's mostly because there's an unwillingness to work with one another and make concessions. Like, there's no deals being made. Everybody's just saying, I want this, and it is what it is. And if I don't get this, then fuck the rest of y'all. And if everybody has that attitude towards everybody in the world, what are you gonna get?
So basically saying compromise. Compromise.
There's a lack of compromise in the date. Like when people say the pool has got piss in it, no, y'all just there's definitely piss in the pool. But if all y'all contributed to the piss, y'all got to start making concessions out there.
Realistically, is that not what relationships is? Compromising to some extent. You know what I'm saying? Be it with your parents, be it with your brother and sister, your cousins, your work relationships with your boss, whatever the case may be.
It sounds like the thing, man, when Sweeney is saying compromise on is very, very like impactful to the relationship. Not just some petty shit. We both, I like New York. No, I like Cali. Let's compromise. Not that. I think what you're trying to say is something that's really like deal breaking the compromise.
But if you think about it, if you actually listen to the reasons why a lot of people break up, most of that shit is for stupid reasons.
And what is
agreed?
Okay, so from what I heard, it was financial.
Yeah, but there's levels to financial. If financial is not something in the instance of a person refuses to get a job type of financial, but I'm trying to think. Well, I've heard a financial argument before. For instance, one of the ladies broke up with her boyfriend because she said he was controlling financially, but in reality, he just wanted to stick to the plan that they came up with together. But she made a little bit more money and said, well, it's my money. I want to spend it on vacations this year. And he was like, wait, if we use this money to buy, we can get our house a whole lot sooner. And she said that he was being controlling. He wasn't being controlling. He was just trying to stick to the plan that they both actually came together and came up with together. They compromised on a plan until she made a little bit more money and then she wanted to do what she wanted to do.
Right. And that sound like, and that's what I've been talking about. When you have a woman that's working, you have a woman's working and earning her own wages and bringing them to the table, and that's what you get. You get a lack of cooperation. You don't get full cooperation and submission from a woman. So it's not really a compromise. I think that goes.
But that's not full. Like they did compromise. They had a plan, and then even she contributed to the plan. She came up with the plan with them, and then she wanted to deviate from the plan that they came up with. That's not needing submission. That's needing, damn, you. If me and you work together and we had a business together and we had a plan to grow our business, and then you decide, hey, we got a little extra money, I'm about to spend all the money on a goddamn yacht, and I'm like, bro, we don't need a yacht.
But
we trying to get a second building, and you want to go and blow the extra money that we just now getting on the yacht. That's not a compromise issue. I wouldn't say that that's you just throwing a plan away.
That's not being a team player.
That's called not cooperating, man. And I understand what
Fair
you're
enough,
saying,
but
it's when you can make all these deals verbally, but the thing you got to compensate for is people operating within their nature. A man operating as masculine and a woman operating feminine. When she start working, and she can tell you, hey, look, you take care of the finances. If she get a job and she want to buy something, it's only.
But that's her breaking her position. You know what I'm saying?
It's just her not having her word. That's why I said a lot of us do that. Like we say things, but then our nature start to come into effect.
But don't men who take care of all the household bills get the same attitude? When they don't get their way, what they do is we see men with a lot of money get divorced every day.
We see men with a lot of money get divorced every day. We see
shit. Those are the men that have
see it every day. But I will say the understanding is different. If you are the sole provider, there's no confusion on what you can spend when a man is bringing in all the wages.
Hold on, guys for a second. I want to see if Shad has something. I ain't seen him get his off in a minute. You straight? How about you, Kenny?
I don't listen. You could slice that pie in many different ways. The situation that you provided was a woman out of pocket, Sweeney, that didn't want to go with the game plan. The majority of those relationships are not broke, they're not having division because a woman didn't choose to go with the game plan. It's a financial strain by an agreement that was made that wasn't held up. And the person decided if they were married, say biblical vows, Christian, they didn't want to stick it out. We can slice that pie right there, because for better or for worse, you're supposed to always stay in there, roll up your sleeves and make it work. Period. There are other situations where the financial strain on one party was not what they signed up for, and they took a logical approach. I'm not going to keep bearing the burden of this weight. I'm going to get myself out of this situation and do for me. Those are the two key factors from the bit of research that I did. Financial strain and those that wanted to come up, like, this is not what I signed up for. I was in it for the bag. As you see, some of the richest women in this world, they just wanted to get married to a man for 12 to 24 months. Say it didn't work. Irreconcilable differences is the term. And now they're living scot-free with a big bank. And you can look at the list of how many women and the time frame that they stayed married till they departed that union, and now they're up. Lotto ticket in the hole. So it's many different ways that you can slice it, but it's hard to.
And that's why I was trying to come up with a fair way to come up with a common denominator that actually we can point to and like, yo, everyone on this panel has experienced this, and everybody in life has always experienced this same bullshit with Black women. This is the problem. Like, I don't even know if we can do that. I don't know if it's going to be unfair for doing it, but that's what I'm
you're correct. It's truly not a monolith as for describing that, because it can go in many different ways. You can say financial, that's a big umbrella. It's just the person and values, in my opinion. I digress.
But fellas, it is though. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the key points that we acknowledge literally comes back to that person not being a team player, right? A lot of marriages, we see a lot of marriages fail primarily because of financial issues. At the same time, we see a lot of very successful millionaire multi-billionaire men and women have multiple marriages because they got the bread to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason for them to stay in it. I'm go give me something else. So I think
but what you're
personally,
saying is because they had $1 billion, because of the million, it wasn't the money that they broke up with. It was other things. We're just looking at the people who had money and trying to discount. Oh, just because you got money don't mean it's all easy under the sun.
well,
But
no, I'm saying there is easier for people, in my opinion. I think that it's easier for people with money to detach.
and that was my original argument. I wasn't trying to say that people with money are exempt from issues that average men go through. I was saying that when you have money and you are the sole provider, I've rarely heard any issues being the reason for divorce or the reason for the relationship breaking with is because of money.
Yeah, it's something else.
It wasn't a money. So that's why I've kind of like strengthened a lot of my arguments on being able to provide finances to eliminate that even being an issue. There could be other issues that everybody normally go through, but finances ain't one of them if you're a provider. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're a partner,
we got that.
Then you got all this cooperation and submission. Hey, look, I'm carrying the same weight. While I'm not gonna just shut up. You got men that, you should just traditional. You should just shut up just because I'm a man. But then they doing the same shit you doing, as far as carrying the weight at the house.
Yeah, but what percentage of people are actually saying that? Like, what percentage of men are actually saying that? Most men ain't out here saying that they women gotta shut the fuck up and do what I say. They
no, I don't. Yeah,
that's not most men.
So I don't know what percentage it is. I don't even know if you can quantify that. I don't even know if there's any studies on that.
I mean, just think about your own real life. When you go and talk to men, is they all the men, like just regular Joe men that you talk to sitting there saying, I want my woman barefoot and pregnant and shut the fuck up? Or you?
I will say this. And the manosphere specifically, whenever I listen to red pill content creators, I would say I hear it more often than not. I'm not trying to quantify it or try to have a social experiment, but I will say a lot of the red pill creators kind of exploit the traditional values of the
but also all of them think they millionaires and 100,000aires and watch.
You should shut up whenever, even if we're partners and financially partners.
But yeah, they all also have the same mentality, have that same prescription though, is get your money up so that you can make your woman shut the fuck up. They all still that's their prescription of that is the same as yours, is don't make money an issue. Make sure you control the money, because then if you control the money, you control the woman. That's also a part of their talking point.
Well, I've never said anything about you make more money, you control a woman. My argument is if you're a provider and the roles are traditional, then you eliminate finances being an issue for the divorce, which is, I think, I'm not going to even say it's the number one issue. I think somebody argued months ago that it was infidelity. But I would say the more things you check off as a man, traditionally, it kind of eliminate those issues that come into modern relationships.
Well, it may eliminate the need for money as finances, as far as not being an issue, but finances could still be an issue, because then she could say you could find yourself in a situation where she says you're financially controlling.
Financial abuse,
or financially abusive, or
financial infidelity. I heard about.
But that's the thing to it. You could, and that'll come up in a discovery, and you'll be paying for it. But check it out, gentlemen. Player 9 has entered the room. I do want to introduce Smiley Jizzle. Did I get that right?
For Jizzle,
Jizzle, right? Yeah, Smiley Jizzle, right? All right, what's happening, partner? For those of you who may not be familiar with Smiley Jizzle, you could go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, how you doing? It's straight. Don't touch it. Yeah, how you doing? Smiley Jizzle. I'm a creator and influencer as well. We have a podcast, whatever, and I watch Lapeef all the time. I enjoy these conversations with you guys when you guys are up here and giving some gems to a lot of the young men. They definitely need it. I know they on the internet all the time, so this is definitely content that I prescribe to, and I definitely recommend to other people. So I appreciate this. But it's not about me. Like, I really like what you guys are talking about right now, because we were having a discussion earlier similar to what you guys were talking about, and I feel like right now the dating pool sucks. Like it really sucks for men, and it's like you want to just do what you're supposed to do as a man, like, you know, start your businesses or get whatever trade you need to get or whatever mentorships you need to get your businesses started and all that stuff. But you still want that companionship. You know what I mean? And right now, like, a lot of women are like, they're acting like men. You know what I mean? So it's making it even more challenging for men to navigate in, you know, this diaspora or whatever we call it of this dating pool that's like messed up, you know what I mean, all over the place. And I don't have any children or whatever, but I was in a relationship for a long time. So when I hear all this stuff about the red pill and all that, it sounds a little crazy for me, because it wasn't hard for us to find women growing up. Like, it wasn't like difficult for us. Like, you know what I mean? They were out there, they were around. The internet just kind of like messed everything up. So now you got these guys that are like saying like, oh, you know, you can't have a woman that's gonna talk to you this kind of way. And no woman shut up. No woman shuts up ever. They all run their mouth. And as men, we learn to adapt to it and understand that, okay, women are gonna behave this way, and men, we have to understand that they behave this way, so we have to behave this way and deal with it. We can't change them. You know what I mean? We just can't. It's just the way that they are. You know what I mean?
So one thing that I always tell dudes, right? Well, I think I beg to differ on that last point. Only the last point. You made a lot of good points earlier, but the last point, some women do shut up, man. I'll say that for real, for real. Like, I'll say that for real. There are some women who just, you know, they like follow whatever it is that you say. Not as many on the west side of the globe. We dig it. That's an absolute fact. It's not an opinion. Like, there's nobody who could prove different. So we do know that. But the best thing that you can do for to at least attempt to have a successful relationship, right? There's no way you can eliminate that, but to at least mitigate the risk, to increase the all likelihood that you would have a fulfilling long-term relationship, in my opinion, is to find what type of women are attracted to you, right? You have to get with women who are really into you. There's a great clip that Morgan Freeman had that said, "Don't chase women." You don't. I didn't even agree with the last part he said, where he said, "Oh yeah, you tell her how beautiful she is." No, forget. Don't tell her how beautiful she is. Listen, and I'm not saying never, but she has to earn that validation. I'm not going to go on your social media and start liking your pictures. I'm not going to go in, like some of the gentlemen were saying earlier. You got to kill those points, man. Like, do not validate women for no reason. They don't deserve it for no reason. If I see a woman doing something virtuous, I'll validate that for no reason, because it's like, okay, you said something that's good. You were actually voicing an opinion that could actually is for the betterment of men, for the betterment of families, right? That's different. You reward that. But a woman, just because she got the tatas out or she cute or whatever, the hell with any of that, man. You gotta pay attention to how a woman feels about you. It's extremely important to start to pick up on those social cues. You need to be able to read rooms. You need to be able to understand body language. When these women are talking to you, you have to understand what it is that they mean, because a lot of people say there's a right way and a wrong way to approach a woman. There really isn't, as long as you're respectful, right? And sometimes you could be disrespectful if a woman is into you that much. If a woman like you, we could go say the same exact line, all 8 of us on this panel right now, and we're going to get 8 different responses from the same exact woman because of how much or how little we are her type. Rules, and you hear a lot of men say this, rules are for the men that women don't want. If a woman's into you, you're going to be good. That's the main thing. Just look for women. You have to find out what type of women you attract. And if you are not, you don't like the results you're getting, then you must improve. You got to do better at it. And that's why Darwin will say, go ahead and get your weight up. The more boxes you check, the bigger your pool. Because if you, let's say you can't do anything about being tall, but if you have money, right? And I never say lead with money. That's a horrible idea. However, if you have more money, then you have access to a larger pool of women. If you have charisma, you have access to a larger pool of women. If you have game, right? You know how to dress. You wear clothes that flatter your body. You're going to have access to a larger pool of women. And just by, if we're going to do this logically, we're going to just really rail this out, we're going to talk about the numbers, right? If you have more candidates, the odds of you finding a suitable candidate are obviously greater. So the idea is to be attractive to most candidates, or as many as you possibly can. You just control whatever you can control, and then you'll at least end up with the best mate that you can.
I find it strange that we got to this point, right? Because
Mhm.
we all know that prostitution has existed since the beginning of time. Sex
Part of the
houses,
profession.
brothels. We know all this shit existed since the beginning of time. We done went through the what was it called? The Sports Illustrated magazines, Playboy magazines, the goddamn Vicky Secret magazines and everything. We done been through all of
Hustler,
that.
Black
Plus,
Tail.
what
Talk
does it
about
Yeah, you
say?
can't forget about BT.
What does it say about today's woman when we literally are saying that you have to ignore the thing that's been around since it's the oldest profession on the planet? And we said, damn, man, it done got so bad. Now you got to ignore the prostitutes.
Well, listen. Well, it's never been the point where it was socially acceptable for the average woman to be that. Women did that on the low. It was never in your face. It was never in your children's face. It was in the back alleys, the backseat of cars, and in those rooms, in those brothels. Now they got it in the street. They got it in the social media for your children to see. And everybody feels like they can do it, and it's okay, and it's supposed to be socially acceptable, and the shame is gone. That's not okay.
Yeah, that's
We
what
just
I'm saying. It's crazy how
situationship
far
now.
we've gone to where we literally like where we are today. That speaks volumes, man.
Yeah, but think about it. Those women knew what they were, right? And they did what they did. They didn't try to live a double life like they are right now. Not as rampant as it is. They expect us to accept it. Like, oh no, I do this for money. And it's okay because I'm being compensated for it. It has nothing to do with my real body count. Like you hear them try to disconnect the two. They try to separate them like it's a different category.
Man,
It doesn't really work like that.
To keep it a buck though, all of that is really our fault as men. You know what I'm saying? Just like you said, that's always been a thing. But the thing is that we went to a certain and specific location for it. But now that we made it so easily accessible as men, I will say that it is our fault overall for even okaying and validating it, you know what I'm saying, to be the norm in the public.
Yeah, because we can't just dismiss our playing it.
For
we
sure.
also have to understand that inflation has made that type of relationship even more attractive. The ability to get that, obtain a lifestyle you usually could for a lower amount of money, a low amount of expenses. So now you got this thing called situationships, where everything is completely transactional. You get what I'm saying? So it's not just women, and again, it's touching on points, but the points that we're kind of touching on is not really solution focused on the original topic. I would say I get what Smiley Jizzle was saying about women are gonna argue. I think that's touching on some of the double standards that we kind of went over a couple shows ago. There's gonna be double standards. Women are gonna argue, and women are gonna not shut up and bite back sometimes. But I don't think that's the solution. I don't think that's that point. Those points are pointing to what we're trying to find as a solution to the specific topic of women being undateable. Because if that were the case, then would we say women arguing and being combative is the number one issue? But y'all said it was. Did we even agree that it was finances?
No,
because I don't even. That's what I'm saying. Like I kind of with Kenny. There's no way to really point at something. But you would think because all of us date black women, we should be able to do it. But
Yeah, I think we all pretty much agree that it's them not being cooperative.
Yeah, it's both sides.
Yeah,
Cooperative is
the
a huge
unwillingness,
umbrella.
The unwillingness to be
You could say
cooperative.
infidelity is not being cooperative. Stepping outside a relationship is not.
Dog,
You can say
I
anything that doesn't align with what you originally wanted to do can be not cooperative. So it's really taking a shortcut or taking
Well,
the shortest path to
I think that is more.
is not cooperative.
well,
I think
no,
it's more so
is
the
go
societal
ahead.
expectation. I think that is more so the societal expectation of what a man should do in a marriage and what a woman should do in a marriage. And once you remove those values and the importance that both roles play as team players, if one person is lacking, then the marriage is going to fail in some type of way, shape, and manner. You know what I'm saying? On top of whoever deciding to be uncooperative and deciding to not be a team player. Those are always going to be the underlying issues because life for everybody is going to do this.
but
Marriage is going to do the same exact fucking thing.
Ebb and
So
flow.
but Viz, I think so. I think that the greater point to tie all of the points together is the communication of the expectations. So finances become an issue when she has an expectation of something that you never agreed to. So say she want to take 4 vacations a year and you never knew that she wanted to take 4 vacations and you take 2 and she's harboring some resentment and thinking that you should just know that I wanted to go on 4 vacations. Now that festers into an issue. And when it finally becomes something that she talks about, it's a blow up and now you're fighting about it. And you're like, I took you on 2 vacations. What is you tripping on? In her mind, you're missing those 2 vacations that she wanted. Or
she was accustomed to a certain thing, and then that had to be taken away due to finance. Now that causes a problem. That piggybacks on what you just said.
Now we're talking about being impressionable. I think what you're saying, Kenny.
No, what I'm saying is that if you can be upfront about what you can potentially do,
communication
is the key thing about what I can do and what I probably can't do, what I can try and do, but there's no guarantee on. And she's like, okay, you know what? I can work with that. You'll get a way more cooperative person because the things you're saying is what you're delivering. Now, if you make a whole lot of promises and don't deliver on them, that's when you get people who don't trust you. And when they don't trust you, they're not going to follow you because they don't trust your words. You're not the man that she sees in her eyes. But if you can present whatever you can present and maintain that, whatever that is, and be clear about, hey, this is all I can do, or this is what I can do, and you fulfill those obligations, I think once that trust is built, then you can gain the submission because she chooses to be there knowing what you are.
So effective communication is a solution that I'm hearing.
Yes, I think so.
Well, I thought that goes without saying.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. And I think what Sweeney just did was actually reinvented the problem again. Because if you have men out here that says effective communication goes without saying, and we should just get in a relationship without acknowledging that is important to have in a relationship, then we can come into the relationship with these expectations, and then, oh, damn, I got to tell you that you got to communicate effectively. No, I think that needs to be laid out in the beginning. Hey, look, if you want something, because I would argue that a lot of women say a man's supposed to know how to treat a woman, or a man's supposed to know how to do this for me. If you love me, if you would know. Like, no, you have to communicate that.
Yeah.
Because women have to realize that they all. I have heard it, and it's wrong because different women appreciate different things. Sure, there are some things that are universal, but you have to understand what that woman's into. Some women really love things that other women hate, and you just have to understand that. You have to learn how to cater to what it is that she needs, right? So that goes to what you gentlemen are saying tonight, is that communication part. But you could kind of feel this out right off rip. If a person is like extra reserved, and I'm not even attracted to that, and I don't want you to be like miscongeniality, but I do need you to kind of at least be forthcoming. If I ask questions, I want straight answers. If you are reserved and you just apprehensive, that's a turn off to me, because that means I can't really trust you, because to me that's deception. What are you trying to hide? I don't want to I don't want to get wrapped into that. If you don't feel comfortable talking to me and me asking you questions and you giving me the answers, because I'm going to tell you whatever. I'm going to tell you what's on my mind just because you deserve to know. And if I don't tell you, how the hell will you learn about me? And that's a big issue, because sometimes women do that, man. They expect you to like be a
Yeah.
psychic,
Yeah.
and they don't. Yeah, and then even when you ask them, they
Yeah.
don't want to tell you. You're like, damn.
One thing that I learned from a lot of the books, like the relationship books that I've been reading into, you know, with marriage and just being in relationships with women, is that women typically they go through this thing where, you know, it's always like one of these deals, right? And in most cases, we have to listen to what they're saying, but we also have to listen to what they're not saying, because that's really the underlining issue of what it is that they want to say, but they're not saying it, but they're saying it because they expect for us to understand it. And that part is confusing. So I think at the end of the day, and I think that this will always be an issue, is that women typically don't go to the extent of understanding how men communicate, and the expectation is put on men to understand how to communicate with women, and it's always that very instance that's being put on them. So at some point, it's like, damn, I'm always trying to do this, and then that's where the miscommunication comes in, because we're attempting to speak to them how they want to be spoken to, but also at the same time get their point of, get a man's point across.
I do have a question for the fellas after Marcus.
All right, this is why I always like, I might gloss over it and maybe don't emphasize the importance of this. But when I talk about the initial phase of relationship, setting up the frameworks for how you guys communicate, I think I might just say that and move to the next portion. But maybe that's really what we should learn to focus on. Because what I'm doing is laying out how you effectively explain your position and get feedback on that position in a way that's not confrontational or causes a fight. And that way you can operate within a trust circle, so you can have clear dialogue back and forth without any accusations, belittlement, or any of those unmet expectations that turn into anger and frustration. When you can do that, the cooperation and the path of the relationship becomes extremely smooth. And the worst thing you can do is expect someone to know what you feel or think. And as men, we have the ability to lay the framework for the relationship. So by doing that, it puts the onus on us to actually figure out the way we need to communicate.
Yeah, I do have a question for the fellas, because everybody on here either married or long-term relationship, right?
Pretty much.
For y'all,
well, I don't know if everybody, but I'll speak for myself. Yeah.
So and I'm gonna answer the question too. How long did it take you before you knew your woman better than she damn near knew herself? Like you knew, like it didn't require much communication for you to know.
90 days easily. I damn near would say even sooner than that.
Is that even possible to know somebody more? I get it.
Humor me, man. Humor me, Bruiser. Come on now.
Okay.
You're trying to be literal.
Humor you.
You can never truly know your woman. You can understand many facets about her, but there's a closet full of stuff that you will never know.
I want to humor you, but I don't believe you can know somebody better than they know themselves.
You're right.
I think that if you truly study psychology and what it is that we can learn from people that have actually studied it and what they've documented and studied patterns and so on and so forth, you can absolutely understand the patterns and what type of person they are simply by how it is that they carry out their day-to-day life, how they handle conflict, how they handle good moments, bad moments. You will see these things if you're looking for it early on. But again, one of the biggest issues is that, of course, with love, with being in love, love is involved, lust, whatever you want to call it, we overlook it because we enjoy this feeling that we're getting. So
The
I
bottom
personally
line,
think that you can see that if you're looking for it very, very early on.
I gotta say this to you.
Mm.
I gotta say this to you guys. You guys are all played, completely played, and played 100% of the time.
You
You
said
guys are all
played?
played. Yeah, you all played.
Like
You know
a
why I said that? You,
played like a video game played?
whatever it is, however you want to take it, you guys are played.
The hell
The
does that
reason why I
even mean?
said, I will tell you why.
Are you saying
Yeah,
we
It's
we
missed?
need
not your
some context.
it's not your responsibility to train a grown woman. That was her parents' responsibility. This is what the parents did. The parents failed and they kicked the ball to you. And now you have to train a grown woman that should have been trained from the age of 0 to 20.
You
Now
said
you're doing the job.
you're not supposed to
That's
groom.
that's
You
valid,
tra-
but when you talk about 20% of us who have both parents, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, so what are we gonna do? Just
okay.
all chase that 20%, or
That's why I say
you
you
got to
played.
work with what's out there?
Yeah,
That's
no,
why I say you played.
Okay,
We
No,
call it
culturally,
something
I
different.
don't
We
know if
call
I
it
can agree with
I
that.
got
we call
you.
it adapting.
Yeah, I don't know if I can agree with
Yeah.
that. You're
So
every woman that you engage with is going to be different from the last. And however it is that they handled the relationship that they was in before that, if you're not the same exact type of man, then of course there's going to be some type of conversion and adaptability that's going to have to play a part in that. And you're going to have to tell that woman, all right, well, if you want to be a part of this life that I'm living in this movie where I'm the protagonist, right? And you want to join this team, then this is how we go about it over here. Whatever you did before that, that's cool, but that's not what we doing here. So no, I can't agree with that at all whatsoever. That sounds foolish to think that you're not going to influence your woman, potentially wife, in some type of way, shape, or form. That's
Especially
essentially
if
what they're going.
everybody has a divided principles and divided standards as a people.
yeah,
You can't really go off of, oh, your daughter should know this. No, nigga, my daughter don't study the same shit y'all family study. So
Right.
you have to really compensate for everybody coming from a divided ideology. But what I would also, I'm starting to tie in the reason why men, or the reason why the saying is to date younger women. I'm starting to tie in the fact that when we was talking about effective communication, by the way, I think that's really one of the good solutions that we came up with. I would say it seems like the less experience, the less communication, that's needed. The less communication about the needs and wants of the relationship and expectations. The younger the woman, the younger the woman it is, the less experience she had, the more impressionable it is. So you wouldn't have to sit in there and communicate the needs and wants as much as you would a woman who's seasoned and got a lot of experience. So, like for example, somebody was in a job interview and they had a small resume. The interview will be shorter versus somebody with a large resume, and they want to negotiate the terms and the pay and stuff. More of somebody who's coming in entry level with a small resume is willing to accept what you're going to give them or accept what you think they should get entry level. So that's probably the reason why that's why they're saying, hey, look, go get a younger woman who's more valuable, because then
So
you don't have to communicate so much shit.
Darwin. So one of the things that I noticed is some men like to fight with women, combat, and they be in relationships that require them to fight. And when they come into the new relationship, they believe that that's an acceptable mode of communication. So what you're talking about is having an untrained bad behavior to get to a good behavior. And that's 100% what has to be done when you're dealing with someone that's been operating like that. Because 9 times out of 10,
That's probably why men marry younger women anyway. Go ahead though.
yeah, no, I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, relationships that had good communication don't tend to end. They really don't. They really don't. So you're gonna have to untrain bad behavior, knowing that, like, so if dating at this age, it's a good, unless they've been through immense therapy, it's a good chance that you're gonna have to untrain that person to get to the next level. And knowing that can help you over communicate. It's better to over communicate than to under communicate. To over explain your expectation than to under explain your expectation. I think if you do that and remain consistent, once the trust is, so communication, trust, and then all the rest of that stuff falls in line.
I do have
communication and trust.
I do have one more question. Who exactly are we talking to?
Talking about black women.
No, like as far as like, because obviously we talking to men about like what group of men, what age group, what group of men are we talking to?
18 to 35, 18 to 40. That's what I'm speaking
That's
to.
pretty broad.
Dateable ages.
I would say
Because
all.
That is pretty
I would
broad.
say this.
I
Say this could apply. This could apply to all men.
Yeah, I was gonna say all men. This should be a standard.
the reason I guess the reason why I asked is because do we even know if that 20, 25, 18 to 25, maybe 30 even want this? Do they even care?
Yeah, I think they care. I think
no, they
it's in our
definitely
nature to care as
yeah.
human
I
beings.
know what we're saying, but we do know that we're adaptable people. So, you know, do we even know if they okay with the
So Sweeney, I talked to a young lady that was 25 the other day. She was hanging out with the young man I used to mentor, right? So we was on the porch talking, and she was adamant on letting me know that she was raised around all men and that she's like a man at this point. She don't care about men. She like to swap them out and do all of this stuff, right? So as I'm asking her questions, it was a facade. All of that was a facade, and it broke down slowly but for surely till she got to the point where she was like, yeah, I do want this type of relationship, but I don't think I can find a man like that. But if the right man came along, then I would fall in line with that.
Well,
So
no, I get the women. I'm asking about because we're talking to the men. So I'm asking like, does that age group give a shit right now?
Yeah, it's human nature to want to be a part of somebody, something, whatever the case may be. The early on in the scriptures, it tells us that God created Eve because man shouldn't be alone. That
Amen.
is something that is instinctively in us to not want to be alone. So I think that men and women want to be a part of somebody, but it's part of the trend. It's trendy right now for man and woman to say, "Oh, I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. A woman. I can do all bad by myself. What's the point of getting married and all the other shit that we
Work of the
hear?
devil, man.
We
Yeah.
hear all of this because of what society is pushing upon people, is black people especially.
Viz, I think they're doing that because they gave up and they
But I
don't
mean,
think
shouldn't
But
we let them
well,
eat
yeah,
it?
no,
No, I think
that's
society is doing that because
of some type of
it's
trauma.
something you can monetize. I think it's a business move to separate the man and the woman, especially when
sure.
women are accounting for so much consumerism and a $15 trillion expense from being and being
Yeah.
single. I think it's a business move to separate a man and a woman to try to deal with this inflation.
But I mean, I see what y'all are saying. I'm just looking at this from a standpoint of like, sometimes, man, you just gotta let motherfuckers eat their failures.
But that's what I'm
I don't think
saying,
we
though,
have a
bro.
choice
Like
but to let them eat their failures. I think we have an opportunity to speak from a passionate place that actually pushes solutions. And I kind of
Yeah, but
I
does it
love the
scare
fact that
any of
we
you
started
that
to
this
feel
is the
like this.
society that's going to fail, and it involves our children, potentially grandchildren, or does that scare any of you
I will
to where
hope.
you're like, damn, do
Hell
I want
yeah.
to watch this generation fail when I have a dog in a fight because my children are here?
That's one of the most
absolutely.
that's one of the primary reasons why I do what I do. Because my kids got to go out here and deal with this.
Yeah, yeah. And we are, and I said this before, we are the ancestors of a generation to come. So it's like if I didn't fight and say, you know what, fuck what y'all talking about. That shit is trash. Uh, you a coward if you not approaching women. Fuck the Willie Lynch letter. Every single thing that I say, I'm saying it because I understand the impact of what it is that we're saying that's going to have on the younger generation. And if nobody else is saying it, if everyone else is going along with the Joneses, you know what I'm saying? Then who is going to listen? Who is going to stand up and say, you know what, this is not normal? let's stop doing this. This isn't taking us down the right path. Somebody has to step up and say, all right, no, this is where we draw the line, and we have to create some type of standard, you know what I'm saying, for our future generations.
Don't you think that technology and the way that people communicate these days does change the way that they may communicate now, or the way that they may date? I think it has a heavy influence on that.
Online, but in person it doesn't change.
But no, what I mean is that we're talking about a generation that's about to walk into AI technology. That is something we've never seen. Like, that is beyond our comprehension what that world looks like.
Which is why it's even more important for us to set that standard and hold that line now, much rather than allowing for, you know what I'm saying, the Terminator generation to come.
But this thing though, even like what we're trying, like I'm just asking because I'm like, maybe what we're saying is the obsolete to the world that they're walking into, and that may be a reality. Like we talking about, like, and I know a lot of people talk about the Terminator aspect of it, but y'all ever seen the movie WALL-E or Idiocracy, where they may be walking into a generation? I think I watched this video on YouTube, right? And he said,
but you had a choice to do that, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the one of the biggest issues that we face, especially in the Black community, is that we give away our power so easily to everything else. I don't understand why it's so difficult for us to embrace the very power that we have. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to confine to these new rules that they're placing before us. We don't have to do that. That's only happening because people are accepting it and giving away their power.
I don't think that's.
Let me say this, Vince. Right, Vince, what you said right now is very powerful. I don't know how many people are going to be able to digest it, or already digested it, or dissect it. But I got to say one thing: what you said is very powerful. But let me go a little bit into it. The thing becomes, how many years do you want to spend training somebody that's supposed to have been trained? I'm still trying to go back to what I said earlier. Why would you want to spend your energy, time, and resource to deal with somebody you knew from day one that is not what you want, but because of her beauty, you're willing to take her in?
That's not my approach. My
You
approach.
see, no. I'm not talking about you. I'm adding to what you said.
Well,
So
I'm saying to that anybody's, and if that's the message that you're getting from what I'm saying, that's not what I'm saying at all. My message is simply, and I always use the story of Jesus. Jesus couldn't save everybody. He tried to, but he couldn't, you know, and even though he did essentially pay the ultimate price. I'm not saying that I'm willing to pay that ultimate price, but I'm willing to invest into the people. All that I'm saying is be willing to invest into the people that are willing to listen to you.
So I kind of made that point, Viz. You probably was talking about me.
I don't think it's a matter.
It might have been Marcus. It might have been Marcus.
Yeah, I made the point. I'll explain why I said that. Black Americans have a unique history that's led to some issues within the family structure. And because of that, for us to stick together, we have to have a different solution than having somebody who's been culturally raised in an untampered culture. And they have an expectation set, plus a community that has a standard of shame based off that cultural standard. Because we have such a non-homogeneous way of life, the solution to that would be to find somebody and work with them to create the perfect union between the two of you and what that looks like. And it could look like it's a lot of work, but it actually can turn out better, because what you'll get is a tailor-made relationship as opposed to a pre-made fit that might not mesh with you well. But the only other solution would be to separate from each other, and I would never
Yeah.
advocate for
And
that.
also, Kenna, that has never been a thing in this country, by and large. Like yes, your parents taught you how to cooperate with one another, and because you learn relationship through your parents. So you see your parents, you see how they interact. 9 times out of 10, that's how you and your spouse. That's how you're gonna interact with your spouse, and y'all kind of feed off each other. Y'all create a somewhat altered version of who your parents were. But like, you know
No,
what I mean?
I disagree on that, Sweeney. You know why I disagree on that? I know I may have not been raised here, but I think American history, African history is global. It's widely read. And
Um,
I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Before the feminism got into the black community, both here in America and in Nigeria, right? We knew the family structure. We knew what the family structure was. Yes, I know that they came and destroyed it, but not everybody was destroyed. The reason why more people became destroyed as the process went on is because we as men began to lower our guards. We began to accept attitude, characters. We began to accept. But if you
No,
draw the
I
line, if
disagree
the
with that.
men,
We was forced to lower our guards. This happened a long time ago.
how
We
how
were
was how was
whipped and hung into. It was no acceptance, bro. We were sold.
But even then, like we had, like Kenna, you can't ignore the fact that we had 60, almost 70 years of black family that was able to cooperate with one another. You can't, like, yes, slavery
yeah,
happened.
that's what I'm saying. No,
Like
I'm not
that,
talking. I'm talking about even between 65 to now. That's what I'm talking about.
but yeah,
Because
but that was,
the guards began to lower down in the 70s, 80s. That's when people began to accept. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
began
but
to tolerate.
yeah,
that has nothing to do with having a connection with Africa or anything like that. That was just like there's like the white
No,
family structure was always like there's always been an American family structure. That's what we in this country have always adhered to. That's what we know.
no, actually, let me say this to you, brother. The black family structure in this country had far more rate of marriage than white structure throughout history. They've always been together with each other throughout history. The white family has never been, in fact, let me say this, right? White people have not they have never really married each other, except the elites. The poor white folks never really married each other. They have always been gypsies. They move from one house to another. They usually fight wars. They go to wars. That is, in fact, let me put it this way: 40% of white population throughout history never married.
man, who
Because
cares?
remember,
Who
they
cares?
ship them out to wars.
That's
They destitute. They live on the street. That is why, if you look at throughout history, you see England, right? The street of London has always been the dirtiest street on earth. Rats and all those things until after, I would say, just a little bit after the Second World War. That was when London began to be cleaned up. Paris
But
was like that.
but that's not what. But that's
we
but we're
don't
talking
care about
about.
white
So
people.
Yeah, but
We
hold on, wait. But you're
No, he brought
comparing.
it up. He brought it up.
You're comparing. The American structure has always been a nuclear family. It was
so right,
built on.
Jess, right after this exchange, we're gonna end up rapping.
Yeah, it was built on the nuclear family. At even white folks in the 1960s were married at a 60-some% clips. That wasn't just us. We were all getting married. Like it
yeah,
wasn't just like
that was the
that was
American
the standard
that was
in
the
America.
American dream to
That's
have.
what that's exactly what I said. I said that even the
Oh,
white structure in the US have always had a low marriage structure than the black family. Black family used to be married at 82%. The white was 64%. Black family was 82%. White was 64.
But
Pre
what is your point, though?
1965.
What is
No,
the
my
point of the
point is
same?
this. This is what I said. My point, even in Nigeria, the same thing is affecting Nigeria now. The marriage rate is coming down. It's coming down. The same thing that is happening in the US today. Even in Nigeria, I do tell guys, I say, because now we are accepting women as they come. Instead of us to enforce what we need. You the one doing her a favor. You're the one that is supposed to set the rules and say, hey, I want a woman that is going to do this, a woman that is going to do that, a woman that is going to do the other one. You have to lay the rules. But when you start letting the rules fly, you start getting the rules loosening, we end up where we just ended. I'm glad that the marriage rate in America is turning around. There's a new study that came out and said that it's turning around. It's
Yeah,
not.
but
It's not getting.
you saying that we're relaxing our standards, and that's what's lowering the rates. It's not that. It's that we're just not getting married.
And even in the 1950s,
And
black people only
getting
married
married
at
for the
a
wrong
64% rate.
reasons. People,
Black
people,
people in
Getting married
America,
for the wrong reason. That's why the divorce rate is
people are
happening.
getting married for
People, there is no. Even the ones that are not getting married, they scared to get married because to them, okay, like now, most 56% of black men are married, right? Why are they saying that? Because the women are not fit for them, right? But is it the woman's fault for not being fit for them? No, it's not the woman's fault totally. That's why I said that.
where in this country is 64% of black men married?
I'm gonna
No,
say
54,
this
54,
I'm
not
say
64.
Even 54% of black men in this country ain't married.
That's what I said.
Wait.
We're only hovering. Black men in this country only hovering around 35, 36%.
But the problem is we
That are married.
It looked like we crept up on solutions, and then we
Yeah,
kind of went back
36% are married.
again. So that's what I don't understand, and I'm glad Trev and JR came together to put this show together to actually pull out some solutions. But one thing I don't want to do is ignore the progression we made during the show to actually reaching a solution, just to revert back to a statistic.
Yeah, man.
No. You guys are not understanding what I said. I just said right now that thank God the thing is reversing.
But no,
which means these shows are doing great job by reversing. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that the men should just accept anything. We still have to draw the lines to get so that the marriage can last longer.
But Kenny, when I'm talking about training and molding and all those things, those are the lines. Those are the actual lines.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm agreeing with you, Marcus.
Anything. It's hey,
we're not.
This is what
I don't think nobody argued that we was accepting any bad behavior. We was just communicating, having effective communication. Is not a matter of accepting a woman and operating out of line. It was just,
and also everybody, well, at least a few of us mentioned the word malleable, and so a lot of women are not going to come completely ready for you, but as long as they're malleable, then we're in the right ballpark. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now. I appreciate everybody for jumping in who did. You had one more point?
Yeah, let me say this real quick. So some years back, when I was in a long-term relationship, and I'm gonna just be vulnerable in this moment. Some years back, I was in a long-term relationship, and I was really battling with knowing, okay, now, and I was asking married men, when did you know? How did you know that you were ready to get married to this woman? When did you know? What clicked in you and was like, man, I'm ready to lock it down with this woman? And a lot of the men gave me reasons that made absolutely no sense to me. A lot of them said, oh, well, I ain't going nowhere, so fuck it, why not? Or oh man, we got 3-4 kids together, so it's only right. Those, even though those may be morally right, choices or whatever the case may be, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it has to be more than that in order for you to say, all right, this is what I want to do and commit the rest of my life to. And the issue is that a lot of these men that I talk to, and it was literally from every age range, from men that were younger than me to men that were older than me, that gave these damn near the exact same reasoning. And it was like, bro, that does not make sense to me as to why I would want to marry and spend the rest of my life with this woman and commit these vows.
Are they still married?
Say it again.
Are a lot of them, most of them still married?
No.
Oh shit.
So you know what I'm saying? It's really, and even with me, because I film weddings now. So even with me going to film some of these weddings on their wedding day, and I see how they interact, and it's like, oh, this shit ain't gonna last long. You know what I'm saying? They're just getting married just because. And that's not the reason why you should be getting married. That's, you know what I'm saying? That tarnishes the whole name and brand and image of marriage.
I
So
can
I
give you
think
mine.
that on both sides, men and women have to get back to again being a role player, being a team player, and understanding why and how it is that they're coming back to be in this marriage, in which again I say that it is essentially marriage is a business deal. So if you don't understand that before getting married, then you have no
What
you have no reason to ask to get married in the
also
first.
those guys that that you mentioned, did they marriage dissolve because they wanted out, or did it dissolve because the women that they were with wanted out?
Shit, it was both.
Both.
It was both. You know what I'm saying? Neither, both. It was either they were both just to the point where, oh shit, well, we've been together for 8 years, fuck it, why not? Or the man fucked up. I know a couple guys that was cheating, full-blown cheating, and they put a ring on her finger to keep her, and just for them to break up, you know what I'm saying, a couple years
That's
later.
a pretty dumb reason to get married. Yep.
Yeah,
But
that doesn't make sense.
we see a lot
Acting
of
out of
that in
impulse.
our community, and I'm pretty sure in other communities as well. But we see a lot of
Spence,
that.
are you surprised? Are you surprised that you would see men, you know, doing so many different things and getting married in a foolish way? Are you surprised that they're doing that, given the fact that we are divided on principle and standards as a black people in America? I would argue that I would say I'm not surprised. You know, every black man I meet, you know, I'm always curious of, okay, what do you think about relationships? I believe it used to be a point in time where in America where you could go to a group of brothers and they would all have the same principle and standards as far as when it comes to relationships.
I think it's damn near the same today.
Nah, man.
Well, if you honestly go out there and ask, most
We
of them
just
got
had
the
a
same
conversation.
answer.
We
All
just
of
had
us
a
pretty much had the
conversation,
same
you were able
answer.
to see so many different things that we were divided on now. Every
No, we
time we
weren't.
come in here every Tuesday, we are
No, we
able to see so
weren't.
many.
No, we weren't. We was pretty. I think we was pretty spot on as far as
The
us
only
having.
thing the only thing I can say we arguably that we kind of agreed on was when somebody brought up communication, effective communication.
You disagree
Yeah,
with a lot of
that was the
things
most
you said.
important part.
Pretty much
So
everybody else was like, yeah.
No, me and Viz was on the same point as far as finances.
Yeah, but only you pretty much was like, I don't know. That don't make any and nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying
No,
there's anything wrong.
the only thing that I was arguing against was what y'all chose to be a solution, and I think what was chosen was to just ignore women and just men walking away, MGTOW or some shit like that.
No, nobody said that.
I don't know.
Hey,
I thought I heard somebody say,
no,
just ignore them and let them die off or some shit.
No, I was explaining the different argument that me and Viz had, but what I was explaining was that if you're noticing, men are ignoring the bad women out there, and they're sitting back and having to come to Jesus moment and trying to figure out why it's taking place. We weren't saying that the solution was to ignore all women and just go your own way.
They are going to the extreme of ignoring all women. That's the narrative that's being pushed for sure. To ignore all women.
All right, guys. So that's going to end up doing it for the show. We definitely appreciate everybody who came out tonight to support. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, share this to as many people as possible. Definitely check out all of the gentlemen who came through and did their thing tonight. So everybody's social media is up here. And if it isn't, I guess anybody want to shout those out real quick who may not have it listed as their name. But go ahead and follow. Everybody has some valid information. I'm sure you were able to resonate with almost everyone here, if not every single person here, with some of the points. And I would hope you would love to hear more from them. So go ahead and support some of the channels, man. And we absolutely appreciate you for coming out. Until next time. Thank you for joining King Chuck.
I ain't never